All right, Scott.
All right, Daniel.
What have you got there?
Cheers.
Cheers.
What is this? Dead Rabbit Irish whiskey.
Okay, good. That's how I do it. Whiskey, that's my mainstay. Whiskey drink.
Yep.
So
Damn, dude. It's been a minute.
that's right. It's been a while since our last conversation.
It's been 3 weeks.
I guess so. Watched a lot of movies.
You did?
Yeah. I've been doing stuff at work and whatever else, but we're here to talk about movies, right?
Whatever you want. I'm here.
Whatever.
It's the Daniel Rubin show. Come on.
That's right. What have you been up to?
Are you still working on a name?
Yeah, it's still up in the air, I guess.
So we'll still just keep calling it the Daniel Rubin show until.
Yeah. I think, if you get to be big, that's what people will call it. I don't know if I need to give it a different name.
Call it Rubin.
But there's too many Rubens.
Rubin on Rye.
Yeah, I don't like that name one bit.
I know. I love it so much, though.
Right,
never mind. We'll get back to it. I was just wondering.
Yeah, that's right. What have you been up to, Scott?
Well, football season started. That's a busy time of year for me, bartending a sports bar. But Uncle Joe's was not open still. So I picked up additional shifts out at the other bar in Newfield, the Sebring. So I'm currently working at the Sebring Saturday nights, Sunday days into evenings, and then Monday nights as well. And then I got a call from Uncle Joe that he was finally opening up, so I'm working Friday nights at Uncle Joe's.
And is it just like before, or is it limited capacity, or?
No, limited capacity, limited hours. At Uncle Joe's, they're only open till 10. They're like 4 to 10, 11 if there's a big game on or something. But I think the most people I've seen in there at a time, and it's a pretty big space. They had the dining area, the bar area, the 3 pool tables over on one side. But I think the most I've seen in there at any given time was maybe 20 people, maybe, and that was a very brief window where a group was about to leave and another group came in.
Do people have to wear masks as they're coming?
Yeah, you have to wear masks until you're seated.
Mm.
They space out the seating. There's limited capacity at the bar, limited capacity. The dining room's like every other booth sort of thing.
I see. Yeah, that might be tricky. I don't know about. I haven't been to a bar in a very long time.
I've heard that so much over the last few months. Like we've had honest individuals be like, what are the rules? I don't know what I can't do, should do, and it's like, all right, we'll walk you through this. It's we're all adjusting together. So
the only gatherings I've been to, I guess I have a friend who has a big backyard.
Oh, that's cool.
Stuff.
Little fire or something? Or?
Yeah, he makes a fire. It's pretty cool.
Good turnout? How many people were there?
Never too many, but he's had some parties. Yeah, there might be 20 people in that backyard. For a big party. So anyway, we said last time that we were going to reconvene because we had a dispute about some movies, right?
I don't recall what the dispute was, but
the dispute, I think you were defending some superhero movies.
I love the Avengers franchise.
Uh-huh.
Everyone loves the Avengers franchise.
Well, I don't know about everyone.
Well, okay, it's you, Scorsese, and maybe like 3 other dudes.
Maybe 3 other dudes. That's right. Yeah, Scorsese made some comments to this effect too.
I don't know. Where does an artist get off criticizing another artist for their, choice in expression?
I wonder if it's not clear to me that his criticism of the Marvel movies or superhero movies in general was directed at the people who make them, or maybe he was angry that the studios spend all their money on them.
You're right. He just was writing them off completely. He wasn't even considering them art.
He did not. That's right. But he was saying he doesn't.
That's so disrespectful.
But wait. I think he was. people watch movies and they also act as critics, whether they're artists or whether they're not involved in making movies at all. But in any case, my opinion is very close to his. I mean, he just he didn't make a
Big
very
surprise there.
I don't know that he. It's not clear to me how many of those movies he's seen.
Right. How many have you seen?
But now, yeah. So I said my piece last time, but you were you said, "How dare I say these things when I haven't seen these movies?"
Yep.
It wasn't enough for you that I'd seen whatever of these movies I'd seen before.
No, you got to see them all. You have to see every last one of them.
Oh my goodness. Well, so now I've seen the first bunch. Okay.
Phase 1.
So I guess I'm guessing this is what you call phase 1. It's all the Marvel movies up to and including the Avengers. Is that what phase 1? That's what phase 1 is.
I'd have to look it up, but that's about right. Yeah. So what, like maybe 5-6 movies in total?
So okay, so I saw. So granted, we had already said that I had seen movies from before. I've seen superhero movies.
Yeah, you've seen the Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
The Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
And
maybe Spider-Man.
Hold on, no. The Christopher Nolan Batmans, which you love, which rightfully
the
so.
second one. I like the Dark Knight.
But then you also threw in there the Christopher Reeves Supermans. Like
I saw the first 2 of those.
The only connection between those is that they take place with superheroes. That's the only connection. Like,
okay,
I different studios, different eras, different, like.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I'll grant, but it's not like I'm unfamiliar with everything. Okay. I also saw the 2 Tim Burton Batman movies and the 2 Joel Schumacher Batman movies.
Which one were the Schumachers?
Batman Forever and Batman and Robin.
Clooney in both, or
no, Clooney was
Val
in
Kilmer. Clooney.
Val Kilmer and Clooney. Yeah, I think from like 95 and 97.
Swinging for the fences.
Well, I think we should talk about that. I went back and I actually watched that again because those movies are almost universally reviled. And, I wonder, so this is a question for me, like, why do people love the Marvel movies, but they hate those movies? The Joel Schumacher.
I don't think, I think that what you're referring to, I don't think that was a good example of the point you're trying to prove. I think because those movies are 30 years old that you're referring to. I think right now in the current, you know what I mean, like early 2000s to present day, like that run of Marvel and DC minus the Zack Snyder Batman trilogy. When they decided that was done and they were going to reboot, because the MCU started first and it took off like a rocket ship. And DC was already behind the ball by a couple of years, maybe. Not to say that they didn't have success with the Dark Knight trilogy, right? But that just kind of came to a close, and that was it. There were no other plans. So when they got the idea to compete, they're basically playing second fiddle the whole time. They were trying to match what Marvel was, where they were already behind in the game, and they were just rushing things out just to strike while the iron was hot as far as superhero interest goes.
I guess that's true. And I wouldn't, I can agree with Martin Scorsese for if he were to say, as I'm sure he would, that's not a very high artistic aim, like let's capitalize on the success of the
no, but that's not, but that doesn't discredit the efforts that the people that worked on the project put forth, right? I mean,
yeah, not the people need to make a living, but I don't know. I think maybe some of the people who participate in the writing, in the artistic aspects of the film, have something to answer for. But
well, I think the decision makers do probably, right?
Yeah. And then just recounting the other ones that I told you I'd seen before. There was the 2006 movie Superman Returns, which no one remembers now.
Terrible.
And there was, I guess I saw Wonder Woman, and I saw Black Panther and Iron Man
I forgot you
just
saw Black
before.
Panther.
Huh? You still don't want to talk about Black Panther?
No, I said it. No, I didn't say that. I said I forgot you had seen that last batch, Black Panther, Wonder Woman.
I saw that maybe a week before we first talked,
Sure.
because my brother made me watch.
Held you down.
So
changed your eyelids open. Forced you.
Well, you see that as a person who's serious about film, I don't like these movies, but I am willing to watch.
That's good of you.
Like I said, there is the intellectual exercise. I somehow have to explain. I have to give these movies their fair due.
Yes, you do.
Okay, but anticipating though that I wouldn't like them, and of course I didn't. I have to. It is an intellectual exercise for me to explain. Well, why do I not like these movies?
Yeah.
Why, in fact, do I think that these movies don't have any real worth? And at the same time, why do they make so much money? Right, because there's a contradiction here. How could they both be so bad, and so many people like them?
There's a lot of that though, right? Like things that aren't good but are hugely successful.
Well, I don't know.
Especially in pop culture.
I think that usually when things stick around, I mean, that when they stand the test of time, there must be something to it. I mean, sometimes things take off because they're so outrageous. They so offend the sensibilities of what we consider to be good that people watch it because it makes them go into an outrage. I'd put this recent song WAP in that category. Is this a song?
You're not a WAP guy?
Most certainly not. I had to listen to it. It's a new bottom of the barrel. I thought at some point.
Absolutely not. How dare you?
I thought Justin Bieber at one point.
You don't think that's a catchy tune?
No, it's not a catchy tune.
What about the beat? You don't feel the beat?
No, I guess.
Do you have a problem with the content?
I do have a problem with the content, but I also have a problem with the music. I don't know. I only listened to it once, but okay. But as to the movies, let's.
I have one follow-up question. 15 seconds.
Yep. Go ahead.
Did you listen to it or did you watch the YouTube video?
Oh, I watched the music video on YouTube.
No further questions. That's it.
And then I looked up the lyrics because, of course, I don't know. In a lot of hip hop, I can't make out the lyrics.
Sure. Yeah. And you wanted to clarify that they said what you thought they said.
I couldn't make sense of it.
Really? Okay.
I could only certain things. I would never have caught the majority of it. And I don't like it one bit. And the fact that it was praised to the high heavens by music industry related people is just unbelievable to me. But of course,
their fields.
I also hate this band Imagine Dragons. I thought they were another new low and whatever, multiple songs.
I don't know if I've heard the new Imagine Dragons. What is it?
I don't know that there's a new one. I'm just saying that I don't like them. I remember whatever song they had. Oh, all of their songs.
That's out of left field. Radioactive? Was that the big? That was their big banger.
They had a song.
They had a bunch though.
Suicide Squad, where it was about being in chains.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
You said the movie Suicide Squad?
Yeah, I didn't see the movie.
Okay.
I'm just aware of it. I know it's.
Here's what. The next Suicide Squad is going to be directed by James Gunn, and it's going to be phenomenal, is what I hear.
It's going to be phenomenal. I mean,
no, it's going to be way better than the. Okay, all right, Daniel.
Well, listen, because of what you
haven't gotten to Guardians of the Galaxy yet.
No, I have not.
When you get to Guardians of the Galaxy, I think you're going to like those movies more.
To have this discussion with you, I rewatched Iron Man.
Good movie.
Debatable. I watched Iron Man 2.
Not as good as the first.
Comes next. I guess it was not as, I don't know. Iron Man 2. I
You liked it? You liked Iron Man 2 more?
No, I did not. No.
I want you to rank as we go forward. I want your ranking of these movies because one of them has to be better than the others.
I was just going to comment. The reason that it's hard for me to rank them is because among movies that don't do it for me, I mean, what is this ranking? Yes, I can easily say in some sense Iron Man 2 was worse than Iron Man 1. And why? Because
I think it's just Iron Man.
Than Iron Man. Because were there more obvious plot problems or scenes that I thought were stupid, or I sort of fell asleep and had to rewatch 10 minutes? Yes, but
I didn't finish Bananas.
Oh no. Well,
I fell asleep.
Okay, I watched Iron Man. I watched Iron Man 2. I watched The Incredible Hulk, which was not on Disney Plus. I had to find it elsewhere.
I purchased 2 movies now, Daniel.
Well, good for you.
I'll be sending you my receipts.
I'm very glad. I have ways of watching movies for free, you know.
You pirate movies?
Well, it's not. I don't know.
You're an actor.
The legality is unclear, but I don't have a copy of it now, so I have nothing. But I did see the movie. I saw Captain America. I saw Thor. And I saw the Avengers.
And what's your ranking? Which one did you hate the least?
Which one did I hate the least?
Just the least and most. Those are the only 2 I want.
Maybe Captain America. I
Which way?
like the most of these.
You liked the most?
God,
I knew you were a Captain America guy. I knew you were a Captain America guy.
It's so hard because I don't like any of these movies. And
least favorite.
Least favorite.
The one that you thought was the biggest waste of your time.
It's really a contest between maybe Iron Man 2 and Thor.
Yeah, you were not a Thor fan.
No, I wasn't a Thor fan. So I don't know that. Listen, so I don't know that watching these movies really.
You're gonna watch them all, bud. You're gonna watch them all.
Why am I gonna watch them all? At least
you have nothing but time on your hands anyway, and you just want to watch movies. So
I watched some other movies in this time period that even if they were bad, they gave me something to think about and deal with, whereas the superhero movies did not. I watched. Let's see. I watched Snakes on a Plane, which I found I
love Snakes on a Plane.
I quite liked that movie.
You enjoyed it?
That was a fun movie.
Oh, wasn't it fun?
Much more fun than these superhero movies.
Sure.
I watched an old film by Billy Wilder, The Apartment, from 1960. Jack Lemmon plays a guy who works in a old style office. Everyone's a drone, and the only way that he's getting ahead, I guess he's in insurance. The only way he's getting ahead is that he allows his apartment, his bachelor pad, he sort of rents it out to his bosses so they can take their dates there away from their wives.
Yeah.
And he gets involved with a girl, but who's also dating his boss and using his apartment. Nice, but I actually like Billy Wilder's earlier work. I don't know how Billy Wilder's career, his earlier movies are better than his later movies somehow.
I don't know. I haven't seen any of his work, I don't think. So what was his earlier movies?
Ace in the Hole is one of them.
Ace in the Hole?
Yeah, and he also made Double. Huh?
I've never seen that.
He also made Double Indemnity. That's a very famous movie. No. And Sunset Boulevard.
I remember you talked about Sunset Boulevard.
Okay. Anyway, so I saw this movie, The Apartment. I saw this movie, Two Girls and a Guy.
I don't know if I know that.
Well,
Robert Downey?
Huh?
That's not Robert Downey.
It is Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. I think you sent me the trailer for that, or I don't know how that came up. I think you mentioned it. You liked it.
You went on and on. You said, "Look, he is Tony Stark. He is Iron Man.
Absolutely,
it's the greatest performance." And it's my contention that Robert Downey Jr. has basically played the same character in pretty much everything.
You found one other example that might be close.
Well, Shortcuts 2 by Robert Altman. Same kind of
Did you see him in Sherlock?
sure of himself. No, I have not seen his. Did I forget if I've seen maybe the first one.
What about what is it? The Judge with
Not-
Robert Duvall.
Oh, I remember the trailer for that, but I haven't seen that.
I liked it. That was different, totally different.
Well, anyway, Two Girls and a Guy. I actually really like this premise. This is a small film from 1997 with Heather Graham and some actress who I don't think I ever saw again. But they're waiting outside an apartment.
The same guy.
The two of them, and they start talking, and they realize that they're waiting for the same guy. They've both been dated. The same guy. One guy's been lying to both of them. So they decide to break into his apartment, and when he comes back, they confront him. And boy, that's a premise with a lot of possibilities. I really love it. I don't think that the movie sort of completely delivered on that premise.
You wanted more.
Huh?
You wanted more.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know, if I were the kind of a writer, I'd write a new Two Girls and a Guy. And just,
Are you not a writer?
never attempted something like that, but I was almost inspired. I saw this the Coen Brothers film Inside Llewyn Davis.
Nope.
You ever saw that? We could talk about that if you had seen it. And I saw another movie. Saw a movie on someone's recommendation, a Hitchcock movie I hadn't seen, The Trouble with Harry.
With Harry.
Which is not a good movie. I love Hitchcock, but this is one of his comedies, and it's terrible. I can't believe he had already made Rear Window, such a great movie, and then he makes this movie, The Trouble with Harry. It's terrible. I saw this movie, Bad Lieutenant, from the early 90s.
Ed Harris? No.
Harvey Keitel.
Okay.
And it's very strange to me because people at the time really loved that movie. I thought this was garbage. I thought you compare it today. I mean, this is sort of unfair because it's much later, but I feel a very similar movie was Uncut Gems, which is a much better portrayal.
You didn't like Uncut Gems. I loved Uncut Gems.
No, I said I did like Uncut Gems.
Oh, you did like Uncut. I apologize. Yeah, I loved Uncut Gems. It was fantastic. I thought everyone did a great job. I loved the entire thing.
We're in agreement about that movie. There's a powerful portrayal of a kind of guy who just digs himself into deeper and deeper holes.
So tough to watch, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But those are real movies, you know, but unlike these superhero movies.
I don't like that you just write off an entire genre.
Okay, well,
because it doesn't do it for you. Again, Daniel, they make the most money. They're doing something right, dude.
Well, can you say what it is? So I guess my challenge to you is I made some notes while
You're going to challenge me in front of all these people?
In front of everyone.
All these viewers?
We'll get there. I took notes on these movies, and we can talk about the particulars. I guess seeing some of these movies, they are a little bit different from each other. Each one,
the Marvel movies.
The Marvel movies, there's some kind of style or thematic elements that are distinct.
There's certainly, I mean, they have different production crews. I mean, like as far as directors and writers, eventually, like they start overlapping, or like they'll be, the same team that works on 3 or 4 of the next movies, sort of thing. But yeah, they're different. Right. I mean, they gave people opportunities to put their fingerprints on it.
So you can tell they're both they're slightly different kinds of stories, and they're slightly different thematic elements. As I said, there's a slightly different tone to some of them, but they're kept enough consistent so that they can all come together. And
there is a degree of cookie cutterness to those movies, yes.
I guess
But I think that exists in most franchises.
Oh, sure. So what I'm saying here is not
Bruce, we're never really worried about Bruce Willis and any of the diehards, right? Because
that's a different,
like 9 of them.
thing. Hold on. Hold your horses here. What
Don't you hold my horses?
Is not what I was saying was not the criticism. It's not what I was saying that they're all consistent in enough in tone or style so that they can all come together is not what the problem I have with these movies. Okay. But the thing you just said about whether we're worried about the Bruce Willis character in Die Hard, John McClane, I do think there's
that's Officer John McClane to you.
Well, so I wonder if you have a defense of these movies. Can you tell me why you like them, why you think they're good? So just beyond the fact that you like them, what was I supposed to see in these movies?
I think these movies are certainly like they've become an event too. I don't think that can be discredited. It's the same as the Star Wars franchise, right? The last trilogy left a lot to be desired, but still people showed up in droves to spend their money because they wanted to be in the theater watching these movies.
I agree. That's one of the.
Let's start right there. Like it's become a cultural, similar to Game of Thrones. If you didn't watch Game of Thrones on Sunday night, when you went into the office, you weren't going to know what anybody was talking about because it just took over.
I wish I was in that office where people watch Game of Thrones, but
I would have chatted. If you and I shared an office, we would have chatted Game of Thrones all day.
Yeah.
I have a little Iron Throne on my desk at work.
Game of Thrones has a lot behind it, though. I will defend Game of Thrones as a real work and not these movies, though.
The entire series.
Yes.
You sound you're frustrated.
Yes, there are criticisms
you're reluctant.
About some of the later seasons. I'm actually, you know what? I guess I'm in the 5th book now.
Oh wow! Out of 5 or 6.
Out of 5 that are available at the time of this
in
recording.
Existence. He's never going to finish it, right? He's never going to finish it. He's done.
I hope he will. Whatever.
74, 75?
I don't know how old he is. And it's disconcerting that I guess now I've read a little bit of, I've heard that, you know, the books 4 and 5 were initially intended to be one book, and book 4 was released in 2006 or 2005, and it took until 2011 for him to release this other part, which really doesn't bode well for. Well, okay, but I want forget about.
Don't worry, Daniel. After he passes, they'll find some unreleased works that he had, and they'll have someone else finish it out, and everyone will ride off into the sunset.
Sure. I don't want to be talking so much about the lore of these works as I want to analyze
Marvel
in them. You know, I have to, I guess at the recent bonfire at that guy's backyard when I was talking to people about movies, so many conversations about movies end up just being, you know, that someone liked it, they just say that they liked it, or they say they didn't like it. Sure. But I want to know why.
So I mean, I can't defend multiple movies at once. I could try, but I can't do that without being vague. So if you want to pick one of the movies, Kat, what's freshest on your mind? What do you feel you're best prepared to argue against?
Argue against? Well, let's see.
Or not argue against, but what do you want to talk about? Which one? I mean, out of the ones you've watched, I mean, the Avengers movie itself is probably the easiest one to like tear apart because, you know,
is it?
I don't know, maybe not the easiest, but it was a buddy up movie. You know what I mean? Like we were waiting. The entire first act was just a tease to get to the second act. You know what I mean? And the battle was way overdone and drawn out. But I don't know. There was almost an investment after seeing all those other movies to have to see the next one for sure. Yeah. You know. But it was also fun. At that point, it had already become an event, and there was the hype around it, the marketing around it was tremendous. But also, I don't know.
So can I just point out that
Not in-
you've stated two things.
Yeah.
You know, the movies are like an event
Yep.
that people feel that they're somehow obligated to see because so many other people will be seeing it. They don't want to feel left out. They want to be part of it.
I don't agree with your definition of an event. It's I want to go to it because I want to be a part of it.
Okay.
I want to be part of the experience. A concert's an event, right? Like a festival's an event. A speaking engagement can be an event, you know?
Okay. But
I want to
I guess what I'm
experience
speaking to,
this.
so I feel like when you say that the thing is an event, that somehow captures a larger cultural phenomenon that drives people to the movie, but doesn't have to do with the quality of what's in the movie that explains why so many people are seeing it. And the next thing you said, I mean, that actually ties into what makes that an event is you say, well, somehow if they've already invested in the character, then you got to see the next one. You got to see when they're all together.
I mean, but I don't think that always holds true, right? There are certainly franchises that take your Sam Raimi Spider-Man franchise. Just got worse and worse as it went on, right? I mean,
I guess there was a Spider-Man
Star
2,
Wars,
Spider-Man
the
3.
latest trilogy, the latest Star Wars trilogy, episode 8, sorry, 7, right? 7, 8, 9. Episode 7 was the best or most well received, and then they got worse and worse, I think, right? I mean, at least
Well, instead of worrying about what I mean, we can say, but how did the rest of the world receive them? I guess I'm just interested in how you or I receive them.
I look, man, I like watching Star Wars in the movie theaters. Did it play out the way I wanted it to? Was I left wanting more? Yes. That I wanted more. No, it didn't play out the way I had hoped or wanted to. But what are we gonna do about it? You know, I mean, I love The Mandalorian. You know, I'm grateful for The Mandalorian.
So you would so you will defend the actual quality. There's something you really like about the Mandalorian. Is that right?
Yeah, I love The Mandalorian.
Why?
I think they do a great job telling the story, making you interested in these characters in this world. I think they do a great job referencing this familiar universe without like slapping you in the face with it. You know what I mean? Which you can get in some of the Marvel movies for sure. I thought they did a good job. The tone and the feel was very much to me like the original trilogy, and maybe even a little more so of the original trilogy. It leaned more into that like westerny a little bit
Yeah, I do
feel
like
to it.
some westerns that I've seen.
I'm not familiar. They introduced an entire new cast of characters that I had no experience with. So they expanded this universe that I'm already again invested in and care for. You know, like I love Star Wars, so you know, whenever something's associated with that, it's like, okay, I hope this is good, you know, and I can be critical of it.
Rather, wait, do you prefer? I don't know. When you say that, I wonder if you prefer seeing new characters or there being appearances of some old characters that you're familiar
I
with.
like both. I like both. If they're done well, I like both.
I don't know if you really think that The Mandalorian has something like the tone of the original trilogy. I feel like it's
Maybe
a
not
little
of the
different.
original trilogy. Maybe of the first. Maybe of A New Hope.
Is the Mandalorian like any character in A New Hope? Uh,
I think the time set of the Mandalorian is a few years, maybe a handful of years after the end of Return of the Jedi. So it's
yeah.
post the Empire. You haven't seen the Mandalorian?
Oh, I know. I've seen it.
Oh,
I
okay.
saw that. I saw.
It takes place after Return of the Jedi. So, you know, it's the fallout of the Empire collapsing and you know the power struggle.
Yeah, but it's this other story that's very separate from, I don't know, the scope of the whole empire. It's just like one of these wandering, almost like a wandering samurai or wandering guns for hire in the Old West movie, sort of like Yojimbo or something, or
I mean, we're what, one season into it?
dollars. Huh?
We're one season into it, right?
Yeah, and you see,
which
this
was what,
guy,
8 episodes. I mean, I think there's a lot of potential too behind it, right? They can take it in several directions. They have introduced and have people invested in these characters, that they can now deliver a little more backstory and information on, or detail, or develop the relationships between these characters. I mean, there's still a lot of mystery about who we're already invested in.
okay, I guess the Mandalorian, as I see it, it's this wandering badass. Every new town he goes, there's a problem that he has to overcome, and it's sort of cool to watch him, since he's just on his own, do whatever he has to do. And by the way, he's mostly it's interesting because you're watching this this guy who's unattached and will do whatever, but he begins to have something of a kind of moral arc, because he feels like he can't just give over this baby Yoda, or the child, or whatever the hell they want to call it, to some bad guys, and he goes back on his own code. Interesting. I guess I'll see where it goes. Normally,
Well, he goes back on one of his own codes.
Huh?
It's like he went back on one of his own old codes.
Sure, but well, so I don't know. Can you say what you like about Thor in the same way?
Um, Thor wouldn't be my first choice to defend. um, Iron Man? What is Thor the freshest on your mind?
I don't know. I'm just thinking what was
I
surprising
like
to me
Captain
about
America.
Thor.
I'll take a swing at Captain America.
Okay, you take okay, Captain America. I'll go to my Captain America section here.
I love that you have notes on all these movies. Let's go. Okay, obvious underdog story. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Terrific. You know what I mean? Guy with a good heart, has no ability
Terrific.
whatsoever, but he wants to do the right thing. He's actively trying. Obviously, it's set in 1943, 42, early 40s, World War II.
I forget what stage of the war America is in at the beginning. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's during World War II.
It's all World War II. And all he wants to do is serve his country. He wants to fight Nazis, right? Like, everyone's on board. Everyone's on board with this, right? You're like, oh, what a
You
good
say
dude.
you're on board. Okay, the way I'll just, here's my mode of analysis here. I always think about the role of identification in these movies. Identification versus estrangement. Who is the stand-in for the audience in the movie? Is there a person that you identify with? Because if there's not, you're estranged from the movie, and you're just sort of watching characters at a distance, just doing what they're doing and evaluating them critically. The kind of thing that you're talking about, when it's like you are on his side, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah, he wins you. I mean, the first act is him winning us over.
I do agree that in all these, especially these superhero movies, where
I think they introduce. I think they introduce redeeming qualities and their faults and shortcomings, right? I mean, like they're introducing us to this character.
Yes, and but unfortunately with this character, although I do think the identification here is definitely strongest in the beginning, because even if I think he was artificially, with CGI, made to look really scrawny and so bad.
He was, and it was remarkable.
Yeah, I think a lot of us can can identify with a person who feels inadequate, can't.
Well, I think everyone feels inadequate at some point in their life, in some degree, towards something, right? I mean, so everyone should be able to. Sorry.
These are particular ones that I think a lot of he can't win in fights, and he can't impress girls. He can't get the girl, right? So
I think it's also I think to expand on that a little bit, I think part of it that at least resonated with me was he wasn't being taken seriously either, right? Like so
Yeah.
I think like the overarching is he wasn't taken seriously. So it's he can't fight, and no one expects him to fight, and he's a joke. When he's no luck with girls because he's not even considered because he's a joke, right? I mean, they wouldn't let him. They wouldn't let him, join the army. He was trying to sign up, and they wouldn't let him join because of
he tried like
physical
5
limitations.
times. Yeah.
So I think everyone has some sort of association with that, or a time, maybe not, maybe not, but I think
But then there
relatable.
are scenes that I don't know how much they really want to establish his basic goodness by how many times he tries to sign up for the army, but also this scene where he thinks that it's a grenade and everyone else scatters, but he jumps on it like he's just ready to sacrifice himself. And that's tough for me to identify with. I mean, this
Sure, absolutely. But is it not admirable? Does that make you
admirable. It's
okay?
hard.
Is that a heroic quality though?
I guess it's some kind of quality. It's treated in this movie like it's look how good he is. It's
Because
almost
the idea behind jumping on the grenade is that you'll save everyone else, right? It's selflessness. That's an admirable quality. I think.
yeah, but I don't know that I'd do it.
No, of course not. So I'm not saying you can identify with it, but it's something you can admire about him, and
I guess
it tells you a lot about
I
his
know, but
character.
it's a telegraph moment to try to make you admire him, but I just don't. I find it hard to believe, and I find it estranging when they do that. It's very similar to showing off a person and their powers in this movie.
But this isn't anything like a power. This is telling you who the person is, right? Like the lengths that he'll go to, the character. I mean,
It is
no, you
telling
disagree?
me, and I don't believe it. Can I compare it? I'll compare it to a scene in a better movie, the recent Spike Lee movie, *Da 5 Bloods*.
I haven't seen it yet. I heard bad reviews. You liked it?
Bad reviews.
I heard a couple bad
His
reviews.
movies are always all over the place. They combine all sorts of things, and I don't like everything about but his movies usually have something worthwhile in them. And I'll just tell you, there was a very moving thing in this movie where one character, it comes up, the issue, these people were in war together before, and they're going back to Vietnam, and this one guy is like, there's no way I'm jumping on a grenade for somebody.
Yeah.
That's absurd,
Sure.
but they go through all this stuff together, and some of them, are against each other, and some of them have to stick together. They go through all this stuff throughout the movie. And then there's a moment at the end of the movie. It just happens. It's just in the heat of the moment, and lots of stuff is going on. There's a grenade. It would have killed this other guy, and that same guy who said he would never do it, right? There's a grenade, and he just does it without thinking about it.
I love it. I love it.
And
I
it's
love
so
it.
much more. And and you see what it actually looks like, and he's just dead, and it's just sort of unbelievable that he just did that, and it was just. But I couldn't believe that happened, and it was very impressive. It told me something.
So you would have preferred if it was a real grenade that Captain America had jumped on?
No, I think I'm just
You
saying.
just want to see meat chunks flying through the air.
I'm saying that in the Spike Lee movie,
Sicko.
It was earned, and it was so much more powerful. But
he still jumps on the grenade
in Captain America.
That he doesn't believe is a fake grenade.
I know he does.
It's supposed to.
My point is, in Captain America, it's not earned. It's just a thing like, we want to tell the audience he's good, so we'll write a scene where he does this, and that's about it. Because
I think it was a combination of him doing that and no one else, and everyone else reacting opposite. You know what I mean? And running. It set him apart. It highlighted him as a hero. I mean, it's a superhero movie. You have to do that.
Yes,
part of the formula.
I understand that's a formula. I just think it doesn't reach me, because I can't identify with the person who just does that kind of thing.
In either of the movies, in *Da 5 Bloods* either, right? You can identify with that.
Well, no, that actually made me think, because I understood who this guy was in the beginning when he was saying I would never do it. And then I sort of followed him along on, his part of the journey.
His story and the circumstances. Sure.
And then I didn't know what he would do, but I found it amazing, and I could believe that he actually would do such a thing at the end of the movie.
I'll check it out. I think that's on Netflix, right?
If it's still there. Everything gets taken down, and I guess.
What about the scene when he's still in training and he's not a superhero yet, and they have to take the flag down from the flagpole. What'd you think of that scene?
Yeah, that's what he
Look
did.
at you, look at you. You're like, ugh.
You know what? I feel like in this movie there were a lot, and this is true of all the other ones. There were a lot of elements that are sort of taken from other movies where things were done better. I saw a lot of hints in this movie of this movie Hacksaw Ridge. You ever see that?
No,
Mel
I'm not a big war movie. God.
Hacksaw Ridge might actually be one of my very favorite war movies. I
Ugh.
was extremely impressed by Hacksaw Ridge. I never expected it because I'd sort of, I don't know, I sort of had written Mel Gibson off somehow, but
Is
I really
he
liked
written off now? Though, right?
it. No, he's
Mel,
doing himself with this movie Hacksaw Ridge.
but Mel Gibson though.
I don't have any huge personal problem with Mel Gibson.
All right.
He made, I guess all of that is from around the time of the Passion of the Christ, which I never saw.
There's some stupid movie that he's coming out with where there's an assassin hired to take out Santa Claus. I just saw a movie poster for it.
I don't know about that. My big problem with Mel Gibson is
we're a long way from the Road Warrior, my friend. A long way.
Yeah, but my big problem. I'm not a huge fan of Braveheart, but
really.
Yeah,
really.
But I really liked Hacksaw Ridge. Can I tell you, Hacksaw Ridge is actually based on the true story.
Only if you tell me afterwards why you hate Braveheart.
Oh, it's been so long since I
Best picture winner, Braveheart.
God, which Best Picture winner actually deserved it? It's a different question.
Go back to Hacksaw Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge is based on the true story of someone who enlisted to fight in World War II. I forget his name, who was a pacifist and refused to carry a gun into battle. And they would have held him in detention or something. They couldn't believe he refused to use a rifle, but his father argued on his behalf. They let him go to war without carrying a gun. He wanted to serve his country, but he refused to kill. And people thought he was just some idiot, some jerk who would die immediately and, whatever. But he fights in the Pacific, and I forget which island. It's been a while since I saw the movie. Forget which island it is, but they have to climb up onto, this ridge, and then there's the flat ground where there's all these holes in the ground where the Japanese are hiding, and they're in these caves so they won't be hit by the American artillery, which has been battering this. And they need to flush them out of these holes, and they'll just be, once they climb over the top of the ridge, they have to climb a ladder to get up. They're just exposed, and they're just going foot by foot, for each point of cover to the next, just getting shot at and whatever. And they're there for hours and hours. And he's just left up there with the dying men at night.
No gun.
And he stays up there a lot rather than come down. He just hides and crawls and gets one man after another and drags them so that they can be taken down off the ridge, including wounded Japanese soldiers. And he saved some ridiculous number of people. This really happened.
That's wild. I have to watch it. Anybody attached to it that I would recognize?
Yeah. There's a number of actors that you'll recognize. In fact, Vince Vaughn in one of his most convincing roles. I don't know. I think Mel Gibson found people who look like they really were in the 40s. Damn it, you're going to have to watch it?
No, I just remembered it was Mel Gibson.
Who cares about Mel Gibson? Who cares if once he was pulled over by a cop and he was drunk and he was so mad at a lot of the Jewish writers at the New York Times who've been bashing him over Passion of the Christ that he went on a rant thinking that the cop was a Jew. You know what? That's one time. I'm not going to hate Mel Gibson or dismiss all of his work because of it. what else? What else does people have to say? That's why that's why people are angry with Mel Gibson also because he made the Passion of the Christ, and people that wanted to say, oh, it's anti-Semitic even to make this kind of passion movie. I don't care.
Do you watch it?
I have not. It's like I said, I haven't seen that. I saw the Scorsese film, The Last Temptation of Christ.
I bet you loved it.
I remember the end of the movie. I don't remember the whole.
So are we done with Captain America? Is that
Well,
is that my entire defense?
I guess. Oh, I didn't say that the other movies that are like Captain America
That they
but are
borrow
better,
from?
that they borrowed from. There's like Hacksaw Ridge, Indiana Jones.
Very Indiana Jones.
Very
Indiana Jones.
The
Daniel, did you like Indiana Jones?
Huh?
Did you like Indiana Jones?
Yes, I do like Indiana Jones.
You better. You're not. You're still hesitant. You're like, yes, I liked it.
Yes, I do. That's right, and that's about the level of praise. It's a fun adventure movie.
It's exactly what it's supposed to be. It does. It couldn't have been any better for what it was supposed to be. It did a perfect job of being Indiana Jones.
I guess I have some criticism. I think there's certain things about the Indiana Jones character that are oddly ambiguous.
Are we talking about the first movie, or are we talking about the franchise now?
I could talk about either one.
Well, which are you talking about when you say make that statement?
Let's talk. The first movie is the one that's most like this. I just
archaeologist.
His loyalties, his morality is sort of always is fluctuating. I mean, I'm fine having any kind of character, however it is. I just sort of want to pin it down. And then I guess I've always disappointed in the end of these movies that the whole movie, it's taken place in a world where there's no supernatural. And not only that, but Indiana Jones has always been suspicious. He's always said like all of that is baloney. And then the way he's like redeemed in the end is by his respect and belief that the thing really is wrong and you could be punished. Something bad will happen to you if you look at the Ark of the Covenant, and it really does. So
never look.
Yeah, so I don't know what the hell is going on with that. Although I did enjoy those movies.
I think it was I think the lesson was that even though he may not have bought into or believed in the faith part of the history that he was taught or learning, he still learned it regardless and committed it to memory. And so that in the event that, he was faced with this situation, he was prepared for it. You know what I mean? It was part of his upbringing, part of the character.
I guess, yeah. So,
he loved history that much that,
loved history. Fine.
No, you don't.
No, I think that's fine.
Wait. Hold on. You like Indiana Jones or you tolerate Indiana Jones?
I think there are lots of great
it.
I do like Indiana Jones. Right in the beginning, I loved how he's in danger in the jungle, and you see how he replaces the thing so it's weighted so he doesn't set off the booby
boulder
traps.
Chase.
But then he's always in danger. There's always
Darts.
surprisingly high stakes for a movie that's also sort of fun and has a sense of humor about it.
The opening scenes. There's a spike with a whole skeleton, sticking through this guy's mouth.
Yes, I do like Indiana Jones. Okay, I want. So
what are the other movies? So what are the other movies that you saw?
There's a lot of Inglourious Bastards in Captain America.
Actually. Did Inglourious Bastards come first?
Yes, it had to.
Oh, did it? Because it looked like you weren't sure.
Wasn't sure for a second, but it had to have, because Inglourious Bastards was before 2010.
I'll look it up right now. We can wait. Edit this out, Daniel.
Yeah, we need a fact checker.
Hey, Jamie, pull that up. I liked Inglourious Bastards.
Right.
2009.
And Captain America. Had to be later.
2011.
Here's the thing, though. Can I once
Why are you
he
yelling at
has
me?
all these
Why are you yelling at me?
once he has all these powers, it's just like any other of these movies where, you know, I don't have any sense that he's in danger. And I also, because I really don't know the extent of his powers,
But neither did he, right? He was
maybe,
kind of
but
learning as he
I
went. It
don't,
was
I'm
part of
not,
the
I
part
feel
of the
like
experience.
I'm not set up to have the right calculus of like how much danger, what should I feel here? It's almost, and at the same time, he just sort of goes from being however he was to like, I can take on the Nazis all by myself and do whatever. And it's
There
just
was a
very
little
hard to
bit more in
imagine.
between that, right? Like there was the whole him being just used as a propaganda machine, right? Like he wasn't an
Yeah,
actual soldier for a very long time.
that's right. But as soon as he thought,
Like you're
uh-oh,
skipping a large chunk of the story.
I'm not here to go through the whole story. I mean,
Seems like what we were doing, but okay, we won't go through the story.
I'm saying, yeah, so I guess I identified with him in the beginning of the movie, at least a little bit. I thought his goodness was sort of over the top and not earned, so I don't totally understand this character. They are somehow able to transform him into this super soldier.
You understand the character, but you don't buy into the character, right? Is
It's
that
not a
more
very
accurate?
compelling, I'm saying it's not a very compelling character. It doesn't reach me because we're just shown, here's this guy who's like super good somehow. And I don't know if I
Yeah.
even agree that that's what good is, because no person can be like that. But then he's turned into the super soldier, but he's not even being used. I guess he goes through this whole period where, yeah, he just is in a play, is a prop, is just a propaganda tool or whatever. But then his honor and his desire to do good comes through eventually, where he's like, uh-oh, I need to save my brother. And he can just go and without a gun, I forget if he even has a gun, you know,
I think he had a gun.
go through a whole camp.
Did he have the shield?
I forget if in the first scene.
I think a shield's a big part of the character.
By the way, I didn't mention also the aviator, the character. I think the character is actually the father of Tony Stark.
The Aviator is the father of Tony Stark?
No. The Aviator is another movie about, is a biopic about Howard Hughes by Martin Scorsese. But the character in Captain America, who I believe is the father of Tony Stark.
Sure.
Right.
Howard Stark, yes.
Howard Stark is I think inspired by the actual Howard Hughes.
Sure. Yeah.
Story is told in The Aviator.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
There's a lot of similar stuff
There's a lot of influence there, yeah, for sure. And I think there was meant to be a connection there.
That
wasn't. I don't think that was an accident.
I guess broadly, what I want to say, like that movie, like a lot of the others, has a lot the same flaw. These movies have been described as roller coaster rides, and I think that that's true. That when you watch the movie, it's just stuff happening. It's stuff happening at you, and there's one scene after another where they do whatever feat, or and it somehow doesn't have the impact that it ought to, that it would if it were a good movie. And I'm trying to think about why doesn't it have that impact? And there's a number of reasons. One I've already suggested, which is that you don't identify with the character anymore because he has all these powers that no other person has, and you don't have any sense of what danger he's in or anything. You can do all these things that people can't do, and also the rules of the universe are not so well established so that you could gauge that properly. But also the story is told in such a way that it doesn't give you, the audience, room to kind of anticipate what will happen or think about, given those rules, what should they do, which is a huge part of mysteries or other, even other action films. Like, what would you do if you were in this position? It doesn't give you any reason. It's just like, oh, now there's going to be a scene where someone's on a train and they need to get to that train. They're starting from some cliff, and they're gonna rope down, or they're somehow get to that train. It's like, why? How are they there? How did they know?
What about the closing scene of Captain America where he's on the plane with the bombs that's on autopilot to New York, and
again he sacrifices himself. I guess it recalls the earlier part. I guess I wasn't made. They somehow had to communicate real quickly that was the only thing he could do, which it wasn't so clear to me. I don't know why.
It was the only thing he thought of at that moment. He was probably panicking a little bit.
I don't know why he couldn't drop the bombs in the ocean or whatever, but
Think of
nevertheless,
the sea life, man.
Huh?
Think of the sea life.
Not the biggest concern, but
Daniel, you heard it here, folks. You heard it here first, folks. Daniel Rubin said, "Nuke the whales."
Yeah, my main point is I think the superhero stuff made it so that I wasn't as into the movie. I've named for you these other movies, some of which are about World War II, some are not, where everything that happened was so much more thrilling, or I was so much more invested in the movie. And of course, it didn't have superheroes. It doesn't have lasers or special powers or anything. In fact, actually, I don't know why he had to battle whatever group he was battling, which made these laser guns. When
Hydra?
Yeah, Hydra.
Hydra?
The guns alone are dangerous to people. I mean, what does it matter whether they're shooting, rifles or laser guns?
Well, I think the threat behind the laser guns was it was a technology that would have single-handedly wiped everyone out, and just whoever held it would just assume power, right? I mean,
well, it didn't really work for Hydra. I don't know.
Because of Captain America.
What can I say? It didn't.
You disagree?
So
I think that's a statement. It's a fact.
I don't know. I guess what I was saying is just that I didn't see the role of the laser. I don't know. Were they going to shoot it from space and take out a whole city? It seemed to me that in World War
It sounds like you
II,
weren't paying attention.
the
They
technology
had all those. They had a series of those gunships, like the one that Captain America sent into the ice, or maybe it was only the one gunship.
I don't know. I think during World War II, the real threat of nuclear bombs acted essentially the same way, and in
Right,
fact,
but this was the next level up, right? This doubled down on that, and they're like, yeah, you know how bad those are? This is way worse.
Well, that's what they tell us. And actually, in a lot of these superhero movies, they have to tell us what's dangerous, because it's all fake, it's all new, it's all supernatural.
We know advanced technology is more dangerous, right? Like, we know more technologically advanced weapons are more dangerous than the previous.
Yeah, so they say it's very much like, Black Panther is going to have a fight, but but he has too many powers. But if he drinks this thing, then his powers will go away.
You're gonna have a terrible time on the next movies you watch. You're gonna watch Iron Man 3. You're gonna watch The Dark World. That's gonna be your least favorite by far. You're gonna watch Winter Soldier, which might win you back a little bit, and then you're gonna watch Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and Guardians of the Galaxy 2 before Avengers 2: Age of Ultron.
Well, we'll see if we get there. I actually did watch Iron Man 3.
Oh, did you?
And same nonsense. Maybe not as much nonsense as Iron Man 2.
Maybe we should just skip you to the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think you might like Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier is more of a espionage, spy-ish.
You know what? All the movies, they're all actually like other movies. This Thor movie, which I knew nothing about going in. Half the movie is this like mythological, medieval epic kind of thing. fantasy land story, which is actually I felt so vague and so silly that you can't really do anything with that. I didn't care about Sovngarde. I don't know, whatever the hell, wherever they are, Asgard, or their enemies, whatever. That whole thing was all ridiculous. But actually, most of Thor is this like silly fish out of the water story, where the guy from that world doesn't know anything about. Oh, you Earth people, you don't eat a feast at a big table, blah blah blah. I am Thor, your god. How do you treat me like that? So silly. It's
And you just don't like silly at all.
I mean, it's just.
Do you think it was silly when they were trying to be serious, or do you think it was silly when they were trying to be silly? Because if they were trying to portray silliness, and that's what happened,
both.
They were successful.
I didn't like either, and again, the rules are so vague about what Thor can and cannot do.
Which rules? Which rules? That his father banished him there and took away all of his powers until he proved himself worthy. Were those the rules that were hard for you to interpret?
Yeah, because it's not clear whether whether he can die or what he can do with the hammer and what he.
Were you not a fan of any of the Hercules mythology and stories? He's a demigod. Can he die? We don't know. He always keeps living.
I guess
maybe that's just because he's so good.
I guess I actually haven't investigated too deeply the Hercules.
Not a Kevin Sorbo guy?
No, yeah, I was about to mention Kevin Sorbo. I never saw that show. I think a much more compelling new vision of Hercules is actually the Mountain in Game of Thrones.
You think that's comparison? That's not comparison.
Well, because the real guy would it be a giant who could beat other people? Maybe wasn't all that good as this mythology makes him out to be. And I think it's very interesting.
I agree that history is written by the winners.
I think it's very interesting that actor, the Hafthor Julius Bjornsson, is one of these
world's strongest
men who actually performed some feat attributed to Hercules that no one else had done.
I didn't hear about that. What was that?
Oh, some log where you have to move a log a certain size. I don't know. I guess I don't know the actual details.
It wasn't retrieving like a golden fleece or
not a golden
battling a cyclops or anything like that.
No, it was feat of strength.
Pretty lame.
The Incredible Hulk, a lot of that movie is actually a lot like the Bourne movies.
We perform the feats of strength every December during Festivus. So I don't know what's so special.
Your family celebrates Festivus?
My bar family celebrates Festivus. We have a poll. I'll send you a picture. You can drop it into the photo below.
I'm trying to name the kind of movies that are other movies that do the same kinds of things and did them better than these superhero movies, which are only imitate. I mean, the Incredible Hulk is a lot like a combination of the Bourne movies and maybe King Kong. I guess, and the Avengers, I have to say, there's more hype. They just build and build like this is the biggest thing. But actually, a lot of the thrill of that movie is like your anticipation of the confrontation of all these different characters.
Sure. So the internal conflict.
Is that internal? I don't know. They're meeting each other and they see what they have to say. But I don't know. It's still so childish, and it's still, again, I don't know.
Daniel, it's based off a comic book series. Of course, it's gonna be childish. What are you talking about?
Well, okay.
What are your expectations?
Okay, so let me to that point. Let me say this. Okay, how childish can you make it? Why did people hate those Joel Schumacher movies, which to my mind are actually a more faithful representation of the style of comic books?
I think it's revisionist history. I think those movies didn't do as well as the Burton Batmans, and maybe I think if you go back and look at the box office success of them, I think they were successful.
But I'm not talking about the box office success. I think yes, I think they did. They certainly did make
People's
a lot of money.
opinions change too, right? Like at the time, those were the second best Batman movies because they were the only other Batman movies. Since we've had the Dark Knight trilogy, right? We've had Ben Affleck reprise the role. They had the Gotham series. Robin Pattinson's taking on the cape now. Like your opinion's going to evolve as there's more options.
What do you think of these movies?
Which ones? The Schumachers?
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've seen them. I remember that they were fine, but then not that I was thrilled or blown away with them.
But
They weren't something that I'd look forward to rewatching.
They are different. They
Or
are
jump
different
to.
somehow. I mean, let me try to compare briefly the Joel Schumacher movies, the Christopher Nolan movies, and the Marvel movies.
I don't know what the point of comparing those are, though.
Well, they're different attitudes towards how one should go about making a superhero movie. I'm trying to see, what did
was Christopher Nolan making a superhero movie?
Well, if you watch the interviews, I watched a making of thing about his movies, and everyone involved in the production of that movie is saying, like, we wanted to make a superhero movie which was nothing like a superhero movie. Like, we're artists, we want nothing to do with that.
Sure.
Christopher Nolan's his whole job. He thought of, like, what is it in this story that is really important, that I really want to tell? I want to, make a world that is exaggerated but more real, so that something about this story has to connect with people. I happen to think that is a very good way of trying to adapt anything.
So you can associate and connect and relate to Bruce Wayne, the billionaire.
There has to be something you find in the story that you think
vigilante.
is worth telling, worth showing, worth giving your view on. Anyway, that's his attitude towards it. And when you see the attitude of someone like Kevin Feige, is that how you say his name?
I believe, yep, Feige is how I've heard it pronounced.
He has a very different attitude towards the Marvel franchise and about how it needs to be faithful to something and deliver.
I think that's so smart, blending them together. He has a built-in audience of millions, right, that are faithful and just want to see the portrayal and development of these stories and these characters that they've come to love, right? But then they can also, it's not a direct adaptation, right? So they can then pique the interest and try and draw in fresh eyes.
Well, I guess there are lots of ways you can bring in new people. I guess I just want to say that the Joel Schumacher movies, I think, are so reviled for their exaggeration, their childishness, their absurdities. Like, this is not how the world really looks. It's not how it works. Criminals don't just announce themselves and make a pun that has to do with their particular power. People don't have these incredibly phones ringing,
dude.
Professional production here. We need to edit that out in post, maybe.
I'm not editing shit. Please bleep that out.
Probably not.
I want one of those squiggly things over my mouth too.
Maybe on Fiverr I can get someone to do that. Anyway,
finish this thought, because then I got to go fill my drink.
I'm just saying, all these ridiculous people were so angry about, like, nipples on the bat suit or whatever, and how impractical. It's clearly spectacle, right? It knows what it is. It is trying to be over the top and funny. It actually, I think, it's a kind of defensible representation of the style and of capturing the feel of comics, and yet people were offended by it in some way. And I think what's funny about this, here's just my theory, is that people want something that's a little bit contradictory. They go to see the movie because of something they loved as children, and they need to see something deliver on this thing that they remember loving, but it can't be the thing, the actual thing that they had as children, because it's actually childish. They somehow want to see it, but given more credibility somehow than it actually ever had, because now they're adults, and it needs to not be the.
It's got to be familiar enough, but not over the top childish. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, it somehow needs to be the thing that they want it to be and validate that thing at the same time, which it can't be if it's actually the thing that it really was before. It needs to change, and that creates some kind of tension there. It's the theory of mine.
What's the name of that theory? What do you call it?
I don't have a name for this theory. It's just
You're terrible at names. I'm gonna go fill my drink. Do you want to pause the recording, or
we could just we could edit out.
edit out? Sure, that works. I thought your glass was empty too, I said.
All right, I'll have some more.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's my last one, Daniel. Cut me off after this.
I'm glad Tampa Bay is winning.
Are they? Why are you glad about that?
Because Tom Brady is on Tampa Bay.
So are you a Patriots fan or you're a Tom Brady fan?
I'm now a fan of two teams.
How'd you make that choice?
Because I've been with Tom Brady for 20 years.
Huh. Were you with the Patriots before Tom Brady?
Yes.
Before Drew Bledsoe?
Yeah, so yeah, Drew Bledsoe.
Who came before Drew Bledsoe?
I have no idea.
Forgetful. I don't know who it was either. But
was there?
So you were a Pats fan before Tom Brady?
At some point, huh?
You were a Pats fan before Tom Brady, though.
I guess they went to the Super Bowl in the '96 season. I think.
Yeah, the '97 Super Bowl, maybe the '98, but I think '97. They lost to the Packers, right?
Right. So I did watch a little bit, but I started watching in earnest, I think, in that 2001 season.
Just in time.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's right. Yeah, so they won the Super Bowl 3 of the 4 years I was in high school. It was
how can you not watch, right? Like,
yeah. That's what got me into football.
Are we playing? Did we play each other recently in the AJ's league, or not AJ's, J2's league?
Your team destroyed mine. I finally got a good day. I actually got a very high score, and your team still blew me away because Russell Wilson threw 5 touchdowns.
Russell Wilson destroyed that week. Who else killed? Hold on.
Aaron Jones got 45 points, but it still wasn't enough.
I know. Well, Alvin Kamara had 44.
Yeah. God.
Hopkins had 23. I crushed you that week.
My team is.
Ayuk was on my bench with 20 points.
Because now Eckler got hurt.
Yeah.
I'm doing terribly this year.
Okay. It happens, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of football left.
True. I'm just hoping the Patriots get better. I mean, did you see the Pats Chiefs game?
Yes.
I mean,
it was a rough one for a while.
The offense was garbage. This guy Brian Hoyer should not play another snap in the NFL. What an embarrassment! But we still could have won. Everyone had written off this game. Like we said, I was
bartending for that game, and there was an individual, a friend, who was sitting at the bar who had placed a wager on the Chiefs, and they were at minus, I don't know what it was, 6 or something like that. And for the longest time, it was a 1-score game. You know what I mean? And he's like going into halftime, I think it was 6-3 or close to that.
It was 6-3.
And he was like, I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, it's fine, relax, you know.
They could have done it. I would have been incredible.
No, they couldn't have.
That game.
They couldn't have. If they could have done it, they would have done it. They didn't do it though.
Oh my God! But I don't know. I don't count on Hoyer.
It's definitely a different game with Cam Newton. You're absolutely correct.
I think they would have won. I think they would have had a very good chance to win that game with Cam Newton, and it would have been incredibly impressive because the Chiefs are really like the best team. Anyway, I want to
This
get.
isn't a sports podcast.
It's not a sports podcast. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about sports. I would love to have this guy John Urschel on this show.
Who's
Have you
John
ever heard
Urschel?
of him?
No.
John Urschel is a very interesting guy who played. He was an offensive lineman for the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
And then he left the NFL to get a PhD in math.
Wow.
He loved math before he even played football and was good at that too, and went back to it.
How where did he go to school before football?
Before football,
Any idea?
I
I mean, I can look it up.
Canada.
Where did he
Buffalo.
pursue
I think
Buffalo?
outside, maybe outside Buffalo, or maybe he was in
And
Canada.
where
I
did
guess
he?
I'm forgetting. I just looked briefly at his.
That's
He has
fine.
a book.
Where did he further pursue math after the NFL?
I think I don't know if he's gotten his PhD yet. He was at MIT getting his
He's at
PhD.
MIT. Nice.
And he gave a talk at Cornell, and
What's his name again? I'm just gonna Google him.
John
quick.
Urschel, Urschel.
Yes. Canadian American.
Yeah.
29 years old. Just want to see how long he played in the league.
He was 4 years.
04 or sorry, not 04. 14 to 16. So three seasons.
Well, he played in this game. I remember being like the greatest game I've ever seen. The
Went to Penn State.
divisional, yeah, the divisional round between the Ravens and the Patriots in the 14 season. Anyway, returning to our conversation, I guess I don't know if there's something else that you want to say to defend. I haven't heard a lot from you saying what you like about the content of these movies. And I don't know if there's anything there. I think you're right to say that there's you get caught up in the hype and the events of seeing these movies.
I think the individual performances by the actors are there's a credit to those as well.
Is that what's sustained?
Well, again, like, am I defending the franchise as a whole, or am I defending Captain America? Because
well, I guess my criticism
because we didn't even get through Captain America. It kept getting derailed.
True, but my criticisms apply to all of these films, and I just,
look, man, if you don't like popcorn, I can't sell you popcorn. Like, that's just like the end of the day, I mean, you're gonna keep watching them though.
Well, only if we made an agreement.
I watched Annie Hall. I finished Annie Hall today, and I liked it.
Oh, see, that's what I want to talk about, because of course
I knew that's what you wanted to talk about.
This is the other half of this. I guess I can't convince you if you say you like these movies. I haven't heard a reason why you like them exactly that I believe in, or that
We keep cutting the subject short, and we're
huh?
Well, go ahead. It's fine.
Well, I don't know how much more I can say.
You're gonna watch. If you don't keep watching Marvel movies, Daniel, I'm not gonna watch a single.
But wait a minute! Look how many
movie recommendation you send my way.
Look how many movies I watched. I sent you a
you
list.
Watch Tombstone yet?
No, I didn't watch Tombstone. I didn't realize that was a.
It's not a Marvel movie. It's fantastic though.
You want me to watch
Tombstone? Tombstone came on at the bar the other night, and there's probably 7 or 8 people there to watch sports, football, Yankees game. We had the WWE Monday Night Raw going as well, and when that ended, Tombstone came on, or maybe it was when the NBA game ended. Tombstone came on, and all of a sudden, half the room lit up.
Wow, I didn't know.
Because they loved Tombstone, and they all started throwing quotes from Tombstone out. It became a Tombstone party.
I didn't realize.
A Tombstone party.
I didn't realize anyone knew or liked this movie Tombstone. I wonder how many people were there to watch the WWE. Whatever. Anyway,
It's a side entertainment. It's not. It's never the main course, but
our agreement had to do with I'll watch your movies if you
yeah,
watch my movies, with
sure,
my
for sure.
idea being in my being maybe I
A
can't.
1-to-1. You thought it was gonna be a 1-to-1 trade-off?
I actually thought it would be more than 1-to-1 because I gave you so many more movies to watch. I if you saw movies that I think are great that
Sure.
have
I enjoyed Annie Hall. Like whenever you're ready to talk about that, I'm ready to talk about Annie.
I'm very glad to hear it. Now I guess so. How many did I watch?
Did not like Woody Allen.
Huh?
Loved Annie Hall. Did not like Woody Allen.
Oh, you don't like Woody Allen? Okay, okay. So I started you off. I gave you a list.
Bananas.
It's very, very long. Oh, there's flies here. There
were some flies last night too.
At the debate is what you're talking about? The vice presidential debate? Have to say this for time, for posterity's sake, because maybe people will be seeing this in the future.
I think they would get the reference.
What do I want to say? I tried to make a list of movies for you that would constitute a kind of film education, maybe, if I want to be so pretentious about it. It's just great movies, and great movies that I thought would be from most accessible, we're most ready to talk about to somewhat
not accessible at all. I had to purchase 2 movies off of Amazon.
I'm sorry. Well, if you had watched it when I told you to watch it, it would have been available for free for streaming on Prime. I guess they took it down. I don't know their schedules.
Yeah, I mean, it's no big deal, dude. I was just giving you a hard time.
And my hope was that you'd actually start with his first 2 movies. Take the money.
You told me to start with Bananas.
Take the Bananas because I thought it was more available, but Take the Money and Run and Bananas. I don't
even think Take the Money and Run was available for purchase.
Yeah, that's a harder to find movie somehow.
So how am I supposed to find it?
The way I find movies. I have a secret formula.
Steal them?
It's not. Is it stealing? I don't own anything at the end. I just you know what? At this point, no one's.
Are you paying for it?
Chasing down someone who streams their movies from not so reputable website that bombards you with pop-ups. But it's very useful for seeing movies because come on, I mean, video rental places don't really exist anymore, and
Netflix.
But it doesn't. I don't know. You need to get the DVDs. It's just easier for me. I need to see movies, and someone can try to come after me. Anyway,
I'm gonna report you.
So you didn't get to see. So you watched some of Bananas?
I watched. Hold on, I'll pull it up right now. I fell asleep watching it. It wasn't bad. I was just exhausted.
That can happen.
Hold on. Bananas. So I don't know when I fell asleep, but according to Amazon, there's 28 minutes left in the showing. So as soon as we're done here tonight, I'll rewind that maybe another 30 minutes. I'll spend an hour watching the last of Bananas.
Wasn't it funny though? Did you like Bananas?
I liked it. It was a lot more slapstick than I thought it was going to be. It was a lot sillier. It was a lot goofier and over the top. It felt almost Monty Python-ish. You know what I mean? And I liked it. It was fine. It was just dandy. I really liked Annie Hall.
Oh, okay. So let's talk Annie Hall. I just think it should be said.
Diane Keaton's a treasure.
Yeah, I agree. What?
And I think she stole the show.
Oh, interesting.
I think she did a tremendous job matching or vibing or meshing with Woody Allen's energy and his pacing and his vibration, if you want to say that. You know what I mean? I particularly found Woody Allen, having not a lot of experience with Woody Allen movies, in this performance especially though, so I don't remember feeling this in Bananas as much. he did such a good job illustrating the like whatever that energy, like if you want to call it like nervousness or anxiety or what, like that clear vibration that his character had. It did such a good job portraying that feeling that it made me uncomfortable more times than not.
Uncomfortable. Interesting.
It made me uncomfortable because I don't know, like I'm a laid back guy. I think we could agree on, right?
Yeah, you're not like the Woody Allen character in Annie Hall.
At all, and like just that again. I'm sorry to keep using energy. You know what I mean? But it was like it resonated. So like he did a great job of bringing that to life and having that resonate in someone. It was just I didn't appreciate that feeling.
That's I guess a couple of other people who I've tried to turn on to Woody Allen come back to me and say that they hate him. They think he's a little cowardly worm, and they don't like how he acts. They don't like what he does.
I wouldn't say that. I can understand people saying that, but I don't think that's a deep enough dive into what's really going on. At least for me, on my end, well, I felt uncomfortable because he was doing such a good job portraying those emotions. You know what I mean? Or that, not even emotions, like just that constant energy that he had.
Okay, so where should I start? I wanted to start you off with Woody Allen's early comedies, because his early, like, somewhat more slapstick comedies, I think are were very, the public, even though they were new, the public was ready for them, huh?
Or do you think his earlier? I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
I feel like there's somehow you're somehow primed for them, but after those, me
personally.
You or anyone else, even the audience at the time.
They're watchable.
Really a different kind of movie. It's a movie about a romance. There are comedic elements of Annie Hall, of course, but it's a more.
There were several comedic elements that stood out to me, and mostly Diane Keaton. I thought the very awkward when she was clearly interested in Woody Allen's character. Alvy was not Alvy. Alvy. Thank you. When she was very much after they played tennis, and she wanted to ask him, like, just probe him essentially for like, hey, who are you? Like, are you a normal person? Should we hang out? And Woody Allen was so oblivious to that entire interaction, or like almost to the sense of disinterested. But I just think he was oblivious to it, which was maddening to me, because it's like, here's a guy who's like, this whole story is him obsessed with like a love life, or you know what I mean, finding a companion, you know what I mean, and he's just not picking up on any of the body language or signals that are being sent by this woman. But also her portrayal of like that anxious nervousness of like, okay, she's an adult who's gonna go ask another adult like, hey, do you want to hang out sometime? Do you like maybe want to be friends? And then something else, like, I thought that was fantastic. Her just nervous hum around her, like, it was great. It was great.
Yeah, I guess in that scene, I'm trying to think. Do you get the sense? I thought that Woody Allen's character, right? Huh?
It's a little bit of a role reversal, because up to that point and through almost the rest of the movie, Woody Allen is again just vibrating with that anxious, nervous, like energy that he has. And in this scene, that particular scene, Diane Keaton's character is very much that awkwardness about her. And Woody Allen's, tying his shoe. He comes off as very cool in that scene, which is quite the opposite of everything else. And I think it was very unintentional, is what I took away from that scene. He didn't mean to be cool. He just was.
Yeah, I guess, I think that in that scene, which is very early on, that's actually chronologically like one of the earliest scenes, right?
I think it's about 30, 40 minutes in, actually.
Yeah, I know, because but I'm saying, yeah, that movie jumps around in time.
Sure.
right? And he's
Oh,
like, this is how they
chronologically,
first
yes,
met.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's thinking immediately that he had an interest. He doesn't really know this woman, but
Look,
he
dude,
must have some interest.
that was clearly a double date, though, right? Like two bros show up to play tennis against two ladies, and
Right. I forget if she was.
his buddy kissed one on the way in.
Uh-huh. So she was there for him,
That
and
was clearly a
he was
setup.
sort of.
Was that not a setup?
I guess so. I guess he was playing it cool. He didn't know whether they can't agree on whether they're
I don't
going
think he
downtown
picked
or
up on it. I
uptown.
don't think he picked up on it, which is a little endearing, I think.
But
But
he gets it.
he gets it eventually.
As soon as he realizes she's willing to go out of her way
I
to
don't
drop
even
him
think he
off.
got it then, though. It was my take.
Hmm.
Because he was saying it out loud. He's like, "Why would you go all the way up here if you're? Why would you go all the way uptown if you just said you were going downtown?" He says it out loud, which is very much not playing cool, and I think it's going back towards the Woody Allen that we know throughout the film,
Okay. I
the
guess
majority of
yeah,
the
I
film.
think that he's not used the whole. In my view, a lot of this movie is about here's this guy who has only to this point. I guess he's married to Jewish intellectuals, people from the same world as
I don't
him.
know if they dove into that. No, I thought the first one there was one that they just referred to as a city girl, and she was very much a socialite. I don't think they got into like faith or background.
Oh, she's
Um,
definitely. It was his two wives. There was the one that he met when he was doing stand up, the one he was talking to,
yes,
who had the
yes,
clipboard,
yep, I
and
remember her.
there was the one who was introducing him to people at this house during a party.
Yes, publishers, writers,
Yeah,
yes.
and Annie Hall is a very different kind of totally different background. She's a country bumpkin, knows nothing, no, not doesn't know her way
But
around the
she's the
street.
free-spirited country bumpkin, if you will, to use your language.
Different from him, right? Different outlook on life, and he seeks to initiate her into that life.
After she courts him, her courting process. So one of my other favorite moments was when immediately afterwards when she brings him back to his place and she's telling this story. What was the story she was telling?
But her grandpa,
About her grandpa who just drops dead,
yeah,
and then the story just hits a brick wall, and she's like, "Oh, so yeah, that happened." Like there was no payoff, there was no punchline. It wasn't like a funny story. It was just she was rambling at the mouth, and her portrayal of that was so spot on, but also entertaining at the same point. I thought she absolutely crushed it there.
uh, that's right. So I guess you raised some interesting questions about who initiated the relationship. I guess you can tell in
Oh,
that.
she 1,000% did she not? You don't interpret it that way?
Well, I guess she enough to get him into her car and take him up to her apartment. You
Daniel,
can sort of.
what did he do to initiate the relationship? She courted, she stopped and approached him. She continued a conversation that wasn't going anywhere. She forced it to a degree, yes. And then again offered to go hours of through traffic out of her way to just have a car ride with this guy, and then invites him up to her place for wine and conversation, and then he finally gets the hint when they're on the rooftop.
Yes, on the
Like
rooftop, you can see that they both want something to happen because you see their thoughts.
but look at how much effort she has already dumped into this until he gets the like,
Yeah.
oh, and he
Okay.
still never has that moment. He kind of like slides into it, you know?
You know what? That's an interesting point. I guess that I'd never really thought of, because my identification in that movie is so thoroughly with his character.
Sure, sure. And I identify with both characters.
Oh.
I enjoyed Diane Keaton's character much more though.
So are you aware? I guess I'll tell you a little bit of lore. I guess that Woody Allen's title for this movie was not Annie Hall. That was forced on him by the studio. He wanted to call it Anhedonia. Are you
Why is that?
aware of that? Because Anhedonia means inability to take pleasure in anything.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like any fun. Why would I go watch that?
Not, and most people wouldn't know it. And I think for business reasons, I can see why they didn't want that to be
Makes
the
a
title.
ton of
But
sense.
I'm just saying that to see that was his attitude about explaining what the movie was about his
No,
character. And
I get that, but I don't think it has to be said, right? Like I think it's one of the first lines in the movie. He explains that.
yeah,
I would never want to belong to a club that would have someone like me, right? Like he hammers that line at least three
that's
times
right.
throughout the film, beginning,
Yeah.
middle, and end. It's a common theme, and it's very much in your face. I mean, the fact that he narrates it three times during the story, you get it, you know. There was an early joke I think I missed because I was distracted either on my phone or doing something. I hadn't settled into the film yet, unfortunately, and I apologize for that. But there was something where he was meeting Annie, either after work or for drinks, and he made a joke about something about The Godfather.
The Godfather?
Yes.
Oh wait, was it because he was waiting for her outside a movie theater, and
Yes.
an Italian guy wanted his autograph because he saw him on Johnny Carson.
I think
He
you're right.
doesn't
I think
he
you're
doesn't
right.
know how to deal with
But Diane
public.
Keaton was in The Godfather.
I'm dealing with a guy he was in The Godfather, or some guy named Cheech or something.
Am I wrong though that Diane Keaton was in The Godfather?
Diane Keaton was in The Godfather.
I love the meta-ness there.
Oh,
I love it. I love it
guess I
so
only see
much.
that later. Yeah, Diane Keaton was in The guy. She's Michael Corleone's wife.
I feel like it's a
second
cheap.
movie.
I feel like it's a little cheap pop though. I respect it. But let's call it what it is, right?
So what did you like? What did you like about this movie?
Mostly Diane Keaton.
Mostly Diane Keaton.
I thought I liked the story. I liked the way they portrayed the relationship between Annie and Woody Allen's character. The timing was just off, or the lack of commitment. I like that, and how they both grew as characters. Mostly how Annie grew. Like she developed. I feel like Woody Allen's character was mostly consistent throughout, for better or worse. I think Diane Keaton stole the show with her comedy. There was one or two more scenes where she had me actually laughing, like out
Really?
loud. Yes, yes. And you know what? I'm not discrediting Woody Allen or saying he did a bad job or anything, but going back to my first point, that the energy that he was portraying and like reverberating totally resonated with me, but to the point where it made me uncomfortable. And this is probably not a very good analogy, but like people, like if you saw a Saw movie or something, there's a point when you want to just turn away and you're like, nope, nope, that's too much, even though it's fiction.
Interesting. Where did you lose it with him? Because it's like everything he says when he's narrating makes sense to me.
Sure.
When he didn't want to go into the movie because it already started, that makes sense to me.
That's annoying to me. That's very annoying to me.
Yeah, it's very, very different from your approach to life, because this guy doesn't know what to do or how to take pleasure in life, but
I thought that was a good part of the relationship between the two characters, right? I mean, he was very more, I mean, if you want to use type A as the label for his character.
I don't know what type.
Huh?
I don't know if that's classically what's called type A. Type A is like a go-getter.
Yeah. Okay. How would you describe him? You're right. How would you describe his character? Because we already described Diane Keaton's character as Annie Hall as more free spirited, especially as the story progresses, right? I mean, at one point she's just living and partying and watching movies in California.
That's right. I guess the Woody Allen character, uh,
He feels very stuck for a lot of the film to
that's
me.
right. He
He's in New York just because it's New York, but he hasn't experienced anything else to compare it to. Which, look, I'm not bashing New York at all, right? Like,
he likes New York. I guess I'll try to build up. I mean, I think that title, Anhedonia, explains a lot.
sure, but
He,
and that's a very clear theme throughout the film. But there's also something to be said. He keeps going back to this woman, um, unsuccessfully.
yeah, he's someone who's very dissatisfied. He's very critical of other things. He's very dissatisfied with his own life. He wants something, although most of the movie it's trying to fix his relationship with Annie. Um,
Well,
but
what else is he work? No, what else is he working towards in the film?
well, he's very he's I guess is he really working towards something? He's a stand-up comedian who is we don't see too much of his own stand-up, but we do see that he
Almost none.
has
We saw what, two, maybe three scenes of him doing stand up.
we see that he's has very little respect. He hates his friend who's making TV out in California.
Living the life, that guy.
Like,
When I saw at one point, I was like, okay, if Daniel and I were to remake this movie, I know who would be cast for which roles, or at least which ones we'd want to be cast for, right?
oh, as
You
a
definitely want to be Woody Allen. I definitely want to be that other guy.
his
Just
friend,
dropping one line bangers and being like, cool.
yeah, I guess that is true. That there were two pairs here, but yeah, I think he finds something new and worthwhile in his life with this woman who's so different from the kind of women he's ever been with, and yet it still doesn't work. Uh, in the end, they give each other something, and that's
But I think it doesn't work because I think I mean, to the credit of the title that he proposed and the first and last lines of the movie and that theme that goes throughout, right? Like he doesn't allow himself to, which is, I mean, like the tragedy of the story.
who's okay. Well, that's actually an interesting question because okay, so it's I identify with his character. I'm pretty much on his side in this movie. The last time I thought,
I don't think there are sides, right? Like it's not there. I don't think any of these characters really wronged one another at one point. You know, I mean, there's a moment when he's on the street and he's like, obviously this isn't realistic, but like we're just people walking by or giving him advice on his situation that they just stumble upon, you know. And there's one where an old woman that says love fades, right? I mean, I think that resonated for a moment.
yeah, it's so difficult for him. He sees either he finds people who are unhappy, they just got old and they're unhappy, and that's not how he wants to be. He finds this one couple, and it's like, how do you stay together? And it's like, well, we look good, and we're
Um,
just insipid people who don't care about anything. And
well, you're skipping one too. There was one where it was a vibrating egg, I think is the exact line. And
oh,
he immediately writes that off. He's like, well, you ask a maniac a question, you get a maniac answer or something like that.
yeah.
It's like, okay, that's funny, but it also is very telling and frustrating of character. You know what I mean?
Well, but don't you
His
think that
ability to just
again,
write things out. He's like, nope, that can't be. Not at all.
I think that the last time that I watched the movie, for the first time, I thought, maybe his character is a little bit too, maybe it's unfair of him. The way he suggests that she like go take courses and become, something, uh, I don't know. It's a little bit much for him to do that. On the other hand,
Sure.
I am totally on Woody Allen's side in his view on the kind of world of fame and the Paul Simon character and Tony Lacey and the parties and what she does out in Los Angeles. Like that's not the life. And not only is that not the life, but that he can't join. He can't buy into that. He can't be a part of that. He wants.
But
Annie
that's something that's been that was illustrated and highlighted already in the film when the New York girl that he was his second wife, I think it was, right, when they were entertaining with all of the writers and publishers and stuff at their place, he wanted to watch the Knicks game instead.
Different
Let's
kind
go Knicks, first off.
Okay. Interesting. Different kind of
Second,
party.
that was just a resurface of an old issue with him, you know?
Well, I don't know. I think actually you can see that Woody Allen both doesn't like the phony, the empty heads out in California, and he also doesn't like the faux intellectuals, who he also thinks are empty-headed, but in a different way. He's in his
An
own class.
interesting stance to take when you, I mean, I feel like he presents himself as an intellectual, but then he hates on, I mean, like the person in the back of that, I assume we're talking about the scene when they're waiting in line for the movie and the professor.
What do you think of that? Isn't he right? I'm completely on his side. This guy in front of him is obnoxious because he's just saying all these things that he thinks are completely wrong. And
Daniel, do you not? I mean, maybe I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that guy behind Woody Allen was an exaggeration of Woody Allen. That guy could have been Woody Allen throughout the entire movie. It was the same thing. It was a reflection of that self. I wouldn't want to be in a club that would have someone like me. It's a mirrored character. It's a mirrored character. The whole movie is Woody Allen giving his opinion without anyone asking for it. One of the very early scenes is Woody Allen upset because there's a guy in the back behind him in the line spewing his opinions and his views with zero regard for anyone else's take on it.
Not zero regard for anyone else's take. I think zero regard for, that there are other people listening who might have to hear it, and that also Woody Allen thinks that he's wrong, and that the whole school of thought that guy belongs to is bogus. I always took that at face value, and you're saying, look, this guy, the thing that Woody Allen shows that he's really against himself, and that's ironic somehow.
You don't think he's a self-deprecating character at all? I mean, like, or self-sabotaging might be a better.
That's interesting. You say he does, when he has that interaction with the cop, and he rips up the ticket, and he doesn't seem to know how to help himself. But I don't know. My inclination was always to view him as I agree with his opinion of that guy in the movie line, and the people who were at either one of the parties or the other kids from his class in elementary school, and what they say that they grew up to be. And
well, that to me was a throwaway scene. I was like, oh, cool, okay, let's keep it moving.
How ridiculous his parents were.
Sure. No, I like that scene though. I like the juxtaposition between her parents and his parents. But I really liked the I don't know, this I don't know if you'd call it the cinematography or just the style choice that they took to cut that together as one scene. Like the very much like frame next to frame sliced together. I really like that choice. It made it easy, but it was also fun and interactive, I thought, so I really appreciate that. There were a few style choices that I really appreciate. I'm trying to remember the other one that I really enjoyed. Oh, I think it was when Diane Keaton's not soul, but when her attention left her body when they were when he was trying to make love to her with the red light bulb. I thought that was I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting something like that in this movie from this time period, There was
there's also a cartoon scene in that.
The cartoon scene, that was the other one. I was like, man, they really touched on a few they reached a little bit, and I appreciate it. I fully appreciate it because I wasn't expecting it. To be fair though, when was this movie
77.
77? So there's a few other things in that time frame that incorporated animation and live action at the same time. So it wasn't a really far stretch, but I was excited and surprised to see it.
What do you have in mind? Or
wasn't there Pete? Wasn't there like Pete the Dragon or My Dragon Pete? Wasn't there a Tom Hanks movie with cartoon fish?
I think those are from the 80s, but maybe
What Fish Named Wanda, was that one? No, I don't know.
Fish Called Wanda is a different movie with no animation, which is great. You should see A Fish Called
But
Wanda.
there's a fish. But there's a fish.
I think you. I don't know if Tom Hanks is it a movie called Splash or am I
No,
wrong?
Splash had no animation, I believe, though.
I don't know what you're talking. I've heard of Pete the Dragon.
I just remember like that style was featured in a few different films where it's live action throughout, and then all of a sudden you're hit with like animation mixed with live action, which I know the scene in Annie Hall wasn't. It was all animation throughout, but it was very unexpected, and I liked it. It was playful. I really enjoyed it.
Well, there's so much. Yeah, there's actually a lot of just interesting breaking of the ordinary film storytelling in that movie. First of all, the jumping around in time and the direct addresses to the audience, even breaking within a scene and talking to the people on the street.
Sure, I thought it was a little heavy-handed at times. Like it was hammering home points that are, if you're paying attention, you've already gotten 2 or 3 times at that point. I mean, one of them was when he was at the dinner table with the other family. Like those characters were already exaggerations, right? We had already had a few lines of dialogue. We knew what was going on there, but still he felt the need to literally stop the action, turn to the camera, and tell us what was going on. So I don't know, like it was fine to me, but it was heavy-handed. And that happened almost every time he did that.
Fair, I suppose.
It was the third. I'm not killing it. I'm just saying it was like the third or fourth reminder or information period or piece about what was happening.
Do you wish that they had stayed together?
I wish lots of things, Daniel.
Yeah.
No, I think I think that relationship did what it. I don't. I appreciate complex endings or endings that aren't neatly wrapped up with a bow on top and be like, oh, everything's good. Like I appreciate that because I appreciate. That's not to say I don't appreciate stories with happy endings like that. I think this was just. I think it was a very well told story about a relationship that was exactly what it was. I don't feel bad
It's
for.
not a sad movie. It's not a bleak movie.
Not a sad or bleak movie. I wish things were different, but I don't need them to be different.
Or you could say that they, were they ever even good together?
I think they were. I think
jump in
probably.
first.
I think probably at the characters at their core, no, they weren't good together. I think there were flashes and glimmers when things were good. Obviously, I think this happens. I think there's themes in that their relationship that resonate in all relationships. I think they were just exaggerated and highlighted in this movie, right? Like, what is it? There's Good Will Hunting when Robin Williams is talking about his character's wife in that film, right? He's like, there were good years. He's like, it was like any marriage. There were good years and there were bad years. There were years when you fought, and there were years when things were all roses.
Haven't been married.
Sorry.
Haven't been married. I don't know about good years.
Neither have I, but I've been in
Ben
relationships. I've been in romantic relationships. And you have too. So don't sell yourself short, dude. We're not going to get. Hold on. Let's stay on topic. We'll touch on that at the very end if you want.
But wait, no, I didn't hear. What would you say about me? I said I haven't been married to this point. I'm just.
I said you haven't been married, and I said neither have I. But I've been in romantic relationships, as have you. You know what I mean? Like, you've had romantic escapades.
Yeah, I've had romantic escapade. Yeah.
But I don't wish that they ended up together. I feel they could have ended up together if a few things had gone differently. But I feel like the characters were at the end of the story being true to themselves. So you can't be upset. I mean,
Maybe I asked this before, but just to pin down, do you think it was more someone's fault that they wouldn't compromise something, that it fell apart?
I think I don't think it's anyone's fault, but I think that Woody Allen wasn't either making himself available, or, again, I mean, the theme of the film, the proposed title of the film, and the line that's reiterated 3 times, once in the beginning, the middle, and the end, is that he wouldn't want to belong to a club that would have someone like him in it. So it's a little bit of that self-loathing, that, self-destruction. So I don't think he's in the wrong for that. I just think that's who the character was, and take it or leave it. And she took it when she could, and she left it when she had to. I
Because
mean,
I don't think he's
but I think he comes to peace with it too, because they end up having a friendship afterwards. There's the scene where he proposes, she shoots him down, and eventually he's just like, you know what, I'll take what I can get.
Wait a minute. Oh, because when he goes to Los Angeles and they meet in a restaurant, that's the scene where I forgot that he actually proposes.
Yeah, he said, "Marry me." He looked like shit. He
Oh,
was
I think he's
it was definitely the lighting was different when the camera was on him. She was draped in white. She had been living in California. She had a nice tan. She was happy, sunglasses. You know what I mean? Like, she looked like a fucking boss, dude. And he proposed to her almost like, and it was a reaction out of loneliness and desperation. And he was looking for like that familiar comfort, with nothing wrong with that. But you can't expect her to live on his timeline. Like, she had given him to that point, she had given him all the opportunities that she was going to, and she moved on to the next thing.
I think the attitude of the movie, which is I think also Woody Allen's attitude, is that artistically she had compromised. That whatever she was doing with this Tony Lacey guy, the Paul Simon character, staying with him, recording music.
I didn't pick up on any of that.
I think in this movie you're supposed to really like how she was singing in the nightclubs.
This is super interesting.
Right, she tries singing "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," and people don't. The audience is restless.
Nightclub.
But then she sings "Seems Like Old Times," and it's just great, right?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
And I don't think that's what she's doing out in California. They like a totally different kind of thing. It's very clear. Woody Allen hates rock and roll.
Wait a minute. Oh, Old Times took place in New York or in California?
Yeah, New York. In New York.
I'd have to rewatch that to confirm, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, because Woody Allen was there, and Tony Lacey happened to be there in New York.
That's when he invited them to the after party. You're absolutely correct. Yeah.
And I think he says he's vindicated in the end, because she takes her new boyfriend to the sorrow and the pity, which
I don't remember that scene.
At the very end, that's like the last thing that's said in the movie. He's like he feels good because he met Annie again, and they talked, and they had such a great time, and she's with a new boyfriend, and he saw that she was dragging him to this movie, the 4-hour movie that
right, that Woody Allen had been recommending the whole time.
Yeah, that it was just this. I actually haven't seen this.
That's movie. The movie, The Pity in the End.
The Sorrow and the Pity.
Sorrow and the Pity, excuse me.
I think about this long movie about the French resistance to the Nazis.
Well, I think that speaks to, she probably sees Woody Allen's character in this new guy. You know what I mean? Like, and like she didn't dislike Woody Allen. It just didn't work. You know what I mean? Like she liked that person. She liked him a lot. She gave him a bunch of chances. She gave them second chances.
Okay, then where did he fail? Where did he fail?
He tried to change her more than a few times. She liked to smoke weed before they were intimate. That bothered him, so he forced her to stop. That was an issue. He regularly brought up her continuing her education against her means. You know what I mean? She tried to change him, or tried to change her. Excuse me.
Yeah, tried to change.
And I think she took she took a lot of that and was very flexible. But what else happened? Oh, there was no give on his side. So she wanted to go to the party. She wanted to socialize. She wanted to not just stay home, the two of them.
Yep.
And in the film, at least, there were no illustrations of him giving into that, or compromising even once.
Alvy
So I think
could not go along with that. Even though I think that the movie shows us here's the reasons, because that's such an empty. There's something so wrong with that. He doesn't like his friend who makes these stupid shows with a laugh track. He's
But
at
if
this
he
ridiculous
likes-
party where people talk about their astrology, and Jeff Goldblum is on the phone.
I love Jeff Goldblum in that film. That was the thing I forgot. Thank you so much for bringing it up. I was like, holy shit. Jeff Goldblum, young Christopher Walken, loved it. Absolutely loved seeing those two guys in there. Fantastic. Fantastic. You're going to hate / love moments in Thor Ragnarok. You're like 2 years away from that one, though. We'll get to it.
2 years. Well, I can watch movies. I don't have a lot of pressing things going on in my life here, but they're all on Disney Plus. But don't you? Maybe what's the lesson of all this? I'm so glad that you liked Annie Hall. Can't you?
I liked it a
tell the
lot.
difference-
Thank you for introducing me to it and convincing me to watch it.
Well, wouldn't you rather have a movie watch movies like that than movies like these superhero movies?
No. I think I like them both. Is what I think. I like a perfectly cooked steak, and sometimes I like Taco Bell. I mean, sometimes I want a Big Mac.
Okay,
Sometimes I want a lobster. Like,
I'll grant that, but I want to just observe that here we can have a whole.
which might be another reason why I don't resonate with Woody Allen's character, who doesn't very much like experiences that are either new or maybe might be uncomfortable to him. I don't like
Even
that.
though, but what about his taste? What about his sense of taste? Right, I understand why he
I
rolls.
don't know. I don't know if you can fairly say someone has a sense of taste if they haven't attempted to expand that taste. What are you comparing it to? You know what you like, and then everything because you haven't experienced it or given it its fair shake, you don't like. I don't. That doesn't resonate with me, and it makes me feel a type of way about that.
Boy, I'd have to change.
Those
I'd
that
have to
do that.
change my whole way of looking at the world too, because it's like I understand why he rolls his eyes when Annie orders a sandwich the wrong way. And
Ordered it the wrong way? How did she order it the wrong way?
she
I thought he
ordered-
was reacting to the type of sandwich she ordered.
Yeah, because she ordered on white bread and she specified all these other things. It's like no, you're not supposed. You're supposed to have like.
Why is that any of his business or
I guess
opinion?
it's a good point. It's a good point. It's like why do you have to be that way? Except that's the way that New Yorkers would do it. People in the know. He's never heard of someone asking for white bread and mayo with whatever
Tomato and what was the meat?
corned beef. I forget. I forget exactly.
He had the corned beef. I think she had the pastrami.
Okay, pastrami with white bread with mayo and whatever.
But why does that ruin his time? Why does that?
Why should it matter? I think he learns a little bit that he screwed up somehow with his neuroses or something. But
Totally, because how can he not? How is that anything but the conclusion of this film? He's left alone, semi-satisfied with this friendship with this woman that was the closest thing he ever had to a love.
But
right?
I think he couldn't possibly have changed his life so much and gone out with her to Los Angeles and stayed there. It was an empty world artistically that he can't stand.
What was the dream that she had, though, that she explained to her therapist, that she was being strangled or smothered by Frank Sinatra, who then turned into Woody Allen?
Yeah, I guess it's difficult to find someone where there's a match. You don't have
She
to.
had peaked in New York. She needed something else. I mean, that happens. People have to grow as they grow, and like if someone just, is growing in one place, that's perfectly fine. And if other people have to move to grow, that's perfectly fine too. And if they work at the same time, they do. If they don't, that's
You
part
know,
of part of experience, I guess.
Woody Allen was asked in the recent interview, like, what does he think his influence has been on other romantic comedies or romantic movies? And
And
he
is
says,
that, would you say that is that, or like the silly over the top comedies are represent the majority of his work?
that's interesting. I actually think people somehow get him wrong. He's somehow known, when people hear Woody Allen, the first thing they associate with him are comedies. And I think they mostly, on the one hand, although they'll point to Annie Hall as his somehow like his greatest film, uh, I
I
think they
think
do
you
have in
told
mind
me
Take
that
the
was
Money
his
and Run and
greatest film.
Bananas, huh?
I think you told me that was his greatest film.
No, that's not. I love Annie Hall, but I actually think Match Point is his greatest film.
Okay.
Um,
It was one of the ones that you most recommended to me, though. Annie Hall. You told me to watch Bananas and then Annie Hall.
because that was you could think of it as a kind of turning point. That was a huge movie for him. And it's a huge movie for film history. And also, by the way, did you recognize a couple of the scenes from the acting class that were in
Yes,
the
I did.
movie?
Yes, I did.
When he's walking along with her along on the pier, that's a scene that we did.
What was that scene?
He
Give me a few
lures
lines.
her. How much he loves her so much that isn't even a word. He
Right. Yes.
lures
Yes.
her.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think there was another scene, at least one more from Annie Hall, that was done as a cold reading. But uh, and
But you were saying that his early works are mostly comedies, right?
that's right. He
Like
started with
slapstick, over the top comedies.
these five much more slapstick comedies. Take the Money and Run, Bananas, Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Sex But Were Afraid to Ask, Sleeper, and Love and Death. Sleeper is another famous one, although my favorite of those are the first two, Take the Money and Run and Bananas. Bananas, I really feel, is almost a perfect movie that encapsulates my mindset. And what's funny about him struggling and then not having anything to do, he can't get with girls, can't succeed. He pretends to be on the left and a revolutionary to impress.
Yes, I've seen all but at least
Okay.
at least 20 minutes of Bananas.
Okay.
I guess my problem with Woody Allen's character in Annie Hall, at least, was, again, like I said, that nervous, anxious vibration he was giving off.
But you didn't have that problem with him in Bananas?
Not so much. I don't remember it resonating as much. I'll give Bananas a full rewatch, and then we can talk about it on the next one. But
he leans all the way to becoming this the rebel leader.
With Annie Hall, I personally had a problem with him having limited to no success with relationships, yet being so adamant about what he was expecting or what should happen, or like the way his internal monologue, and also his like breaking the fourth wall, but the way he was interacting and storytelling was that his perception was he was an expert with women too. You know what I mean? And to the point where it's like, oh, they shouldn't do that. I can't do that. No, not at all. That's not going to happen. We're going to do things this way, sort of thing. And that rubbed me the wrong way, I think.
I don't find him oppressive, but it is true that he does try.
This is how it should be. He has his idea
a bit, yeah.
And that rubbed me the wrong way. And that could be a cultural time thing. Like, I'm sure I'd like to think we're a little more woke now than.
But she came into the city wearing a tie and a vest, and she doesn't know how to
like the tie and the vest. Did you not like the tie and the vest?
Well, I got that somehow that ended up becoming some kind of fashion statement, although I don't know how many people ended up really wearing it, but it's somehow iconic. But I think it was made to look like she doesn't know what she's doing. And I think it's clear that she doesn't know what she's doing coming into New York City.
I think that's a very Woody Allen take on the perception.
Yeah, I'm with him on his taste, even though I guess I do see. Yeah, it's sort of a shame that he can't he doesn't adapt. He can't handle.
Even in the
Well,
slightest. I think if one of those shortfalls or problems or hurdles that we talked about had been conquered or even just like dealt with a little bit better, I think their relationship would have been different, obviously. But because each one of them was a zero compromise, it was just like, okay, you know. And again, no fault for him being true to himself. I think the tragedy comes with him not being motivated enough or willing enough to adapt to save the rest of that. You know what I mean? Like clearly, I mean, again, when he proposes, he's in a miserable place because he's lonely, he misses what they had, sort of thing. Looking on it with rose-colored lenses, whatever. Um, but yeah, he just couldn't. He kept falling into the comfort groove or whatever, and he wouldn't adjust. He wouldn't compromise.
hmm.
That's the tragedy. He had what he wanted, but he wanted more or too much.
Uh-huh. I think there's a little bit of a tragedy that she sort of either outgrows him or reverts to goes to a place where he doesn't want to go because she's willing to do bad art. But yeah, I know. I'm
I agree, though. I think there's something to be said about that. He pushes her to again take these college classes that she wasn't really interested in, but she does. You know what I mean? To impress or appease him, and eventually that leads to her outgrowing his intellectual opinions to a degree where again his character is the type of person that comes across as thinking they know best. You know what I mean? And having the end all opinion and standing by their roots to a degree which there's nothing wrong with. But almost to a point where he's numb to the arguments of the other side. So he almost created, in a sense, he was almost Dr. Frankenstein here, creating the monster, right? Um, he if for what he
I see.
for scenes in the movie, it seems like he wants he has this mold of a partner, and she's supposed to have the same thoughts, beliefs, and understandings as he does, and intellectual capabilities. Um, and by trying to coach her up to what he's hoping she gets to, she actually either takes a U-turn or surpasses what his beliefs and
But
concerns
she
are.
does. Yeah, she goes in it. Ultimately, it goes in a different direction.
And but again, he created that windstorm. She most likely doesn't take those classes and starts her path down the advanced education if he doesn't continue to press it and make it a priority. So again, that's a sense of self-destruction, I think, because he had this bar and expectation for her that he kept pushing her towards, and in the process of doing so lit this fire or um caused these chain of events that made this had this realization inside of her, like, oh, I don't agree with any of this shit, and I can make a valid argument against it now. And again, going back to his character's lack of adaptability, or even to a lesser extent, empathy or just understanding of an alternative viewpoint. I think that was his ultimate downfall.
Hmm. Do you think there's any? This goes beyond the movie. How far should the person go in a relationship to sort of move the partner closer to them. Their
So
likes, their
so
intellectual.
so
Uh,
the preface here is I am currently single-ish. I'm
yeah.
not single. I'm seeing the same girl that I was seeing before, but
Right.
I've not. I wouldn't say that I've had. I don't know. You can make the argument one way or another that I've had successful romantic relationships, but
More than
clearly
I
they've
have.
all. But clearly they've all ended. You know what I mean? So, and um whether that's attributed to the match of the two individuals or if it's attributed to, again, my perceptions and desires for what a relationship should be. You know what I mean? Like it's all of it's such a case by case basis. You know what I mean? So I don't think I don't think there's an answer, a blanket answer that's going to cover the entire thing.
Yeah, I don't know. If I was with a
But I do
girl.
feel with any relationship, professional, personal, romantic, there has to be give and take. You know what I mean? Like there has to be. And I think, again, going back to Annie Hall in the movie, there were so many within the context of what we know from what was given to us, there was such a lack of that on his part, but eventually a willingness on her part that there was an unbalance, and that's just not going to work. I mean, unbalance doesn't work at the end of the day, right? In some capacity across the board.
Hmm, the doomed relationship. Maybe it really was more his fault than maybe I initially thought. Just because I don't like the path that Annie Hall went down, and I sort of agree with
The
how
path that he sent her down, though.
huh? That he sent her down. That's right. That's right. Uh, yeah, it's all very tragic. I think I
I
want
mean, it's
to bring the
I mean,
girl
it's
along to some of my ways of seeing things, and my I that go through movies. I tell you, I once saw something very nice. A friend of mine had a girlfriend, and I went to visit them, and I saw at night they had a designated time. She was playing games that he wanted her to play from his childhood. And, they're doing this together, like playing Zelda and whatnot.
cool.
I thought that was very cute that she was willing to do that, and that they had a
Absolutely.
good time doing that.
And what do you think it meant to him? It was a reinforcement, right? Of
Oh,
that she was committed to this person as they are, to a degree. Like with the understanding that they're also going to be committed to the person that she was, like if he showed interest or shared interest or time and commitment into her activities, hobbies, likes,
I don't
desires.
know any more of that story, but hey, I'm willing to do stuff. That hasn't been my problem.
Daniel, I'm not going to
The
date
problem.
you. Stop,
No,
stop.
not yet.
Stop selling me. There's no viewers. There's no one here.
We'll get viewers. I think once I have enough. I take these videos and then I show them to other people, and
You
then
show these to people?
they're up on YouTube. They're just unlisted for
How
now.
many views? How many views are we up to?
6.
Oh, for all the videos?
There's 2 I put. I didn't put the first one up because the first one was pretty rough. Um. Anyway, I'm just so glad that you saw and you liked Annie Hall, and I
Really
just think,
did. I really did. I'm
look
excited for your next recommendation.
look how, here's a movie that we could talk about because it relates to life in a much more clear way, and so it has a meaning that the superhero movies just don't have. I mean,
I don't think this has to end with you bashing on superhero movies.
okay, I still want to bash it, but the
Hey,
way you
Woody, you banged at home, okay? You don't like superhero movies, but you're gonna keep watching them.
I will keep watching that if that's the price. If that's really what you think I should watch, by the way, because here
It's
I
not
am.
what I think you should watch, but it's what I want you to watch.
I have to just go through this. empty movies.
Hey Daniel. Remember when Woody Allen didn't want to do the things he didn't want to do, and he didn't give a little bit? Do you remember how we were just talking
What
about
is it
that?
doing for you? What is it doing for you that I watch more of these movies? We didn't even get to my criticism of the Incredible Hulk or whatever. But
We didn't finish my defense of Captain America.
okay. Don't you? I think if you watch more movies that are really good, and we talk about them over time, you'll lose
Really good, like
appreciation.
Academy Award winning Best Picture films like Braveheart. Yeah.
Oh, these best. Well, Annie Hall did win Best Picture, by the way. One of the only
I
films
liked it. I liked it a lot, dude. I really liked it.
over
Regretfully,
Star Wars.
I did not like Woody Allen's character.
Yeah,
Again, I thought he did a great job portraying what he wanted to portray and communicating that. But it was, for me personally, too effective to the point where, okay, I don't like this. Like, it's making me feel a certain type of way.
Maybe, yeah, I think it is some kind of a failure if you don't identify. Well, I do identify with his character in a lot of his movies, even if
I don't think it's failure, dude. We can't all identify with all experiences, you know.
True, but I
So
think that movies, like the filmmaker does intend for you to, he has an
for
idea
as many,
where your
for as
identification
many.
should be, huh?
I think they intend for as many, not for everyone, right? Like,
Yeah,
there's only so low, like you can only like read to the so many of the common denominator. Like, you can't do it.
I wonder what women think of this movie. Annie Hall. I bet they're even more likely to be on Diane Keaton's side.
If you have to draw sides, I would say you're correct. I don't know. I think both of those characters have a lot of relatable qualities and characteristics to them. I think
can relate to Woody Allen.
I think men and
Stand up
women. I think all people have. I think most people at some point have faced frustrations in relationships where there's not equal considerations or attention or energy given to their partners, right? Like, I think that's a very common theme in relationships, even successful relationships. I think there are periods of times when things could be better.
Don't you want to watch more Woody Allen movies now?
No, I want to watch more Diane Keaton movies now. I
Oh,
want to watch what was it, Stepmom?
Stepmom. Well,
With
you can.
Julia Roberts and Ed Harris? Let's fucking go.
I'm not familiar with that movie.
I think it's Diane Keaton. We
you
did
should-
scenes from that in the workshop.
Stepmom?
Absolutely, dude.
I don't remember
I
that.
believe it's called Stepmom. I might be butchering the name. The scene where the two ladies are speaking and they're talking, they're clearly talking about like the holidays and the kids. Now they were gonna split up time, and then one's like, I found these papers. Why are you going to California?
Oh yeah.
And taking the kids. And she's like, I'm going there because that's the best cancer treatment that's available right now, and nobody knows I have cancer. You know, P.S. That was I believe that was, I'm almost positive that was Stepmom, and it was Julia Roberts and Diane Keaton. Okay. And it's a baller. I think it's a baller scene.
Could be a good scene. Still not sold on the movie, but you should at least see Manhattan. Again,
Woody Allen, Manhattan.
Diane Keaton.
Woody Allen or Diane Keaton?
Both.
Poor Diane Keaton.
Poor Diane.
That's what I said. Which one's the Diane Keaton movie? What's not the Woody Allen movie with Diane Keaton, or the Al Pacino movie with Diane Keaton? I have Manhattan here.
She's in a lot of movies. Isn't she in a movie called like wasn't she in something I don't know if she's in First Wives Club. I'm talking about movies I've never seen. So I have no idea. Let me not
Does
say
that sound like a
wrong.
movie that Diane Keaton was involved with writing, producing, and directing? First Wives Clubs. That sounds like a totally male written, produced,
You know,
marketed
Yeah.
First Wives Club.
that
That's somewhat offensive, right?
no. I think it speaks to
I'll tell you what Diane Keaton is.
they're thinking that they were dismissed somehow. I don't even know if
You
it's
know that
correct.
Diane Keaton is not, repeat, not NOT related to Michael Keaton.
What about Buster Keaton? Okay, so she was in the First Wives Club.
How dare you?
Um,
What else?
I really like, and I know best. Oh, I guess I saw The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2 and The Godfather.
Obviously.
And she is in a bunch more Woody Allen movies. I really think that she is in Interiors too. That's right. Look, I love Woody Allen. I think you should.
Something's got to give. Do you see that? Something's got to give.
No, I didn't see that.
I bet that's good. I bet that's a continuation of
that's
this same story.
Actually, you know what is the most like a continuation of this story?
Tell me.
Even though
Mamma
it's
Mia?
not quite accurate, you should see also Manhattan Murder Mystery. I used to think Manhattan Murder Mystery, it's almost as though you had taken these two characters, if they had stayed together, and so many years later, this is a Woody Allen movie from 1993. That's not totally true. Although I guess I've learned that Woody Allen's original vision for this movie, Annie Hall, there was a murder mystery in New York story, and it just became too big.
That seems extra, right? That seems extra.
Given the way that the movie ultimately turned out, it seems very odd. How could that possibly have been in there? And it was probably a good decision to, not have the movie be about that. All the credit to his editors and his co-writer on the movie.
You see The Family Stone?
No, I have not seen these other Diane Keaton movies. I have seen. I actually did see this movie, The Other Sister. It's funny to me that typically I don't typically go after movies because a certain actor is in it. I do that very rarely. I think I tried to track down.
Why do you watch all the Mission Impossible movies?
Well, you can tell those are genre pictures. Besides the fact that they're helmed by Tom Cruise, who is it's very impressive that he puts himself behind doing these stunts, sort of like Jackie Chan. So that's like a kind of special thing where yes, I'm there for the actor, but it's for something special that the actor is doing. I like Nicole Kidman, and I have gone to see a bunch of her movies, although she has a whole bunch. She's done a lot of movies that I haven't gotten around to yet. Usually I go after movies for the director, because I feel like the director makes the movie. That's how I've seen it. But I can imagine that people more attuned to acting.
Jason Bay guy, not Jason Bay. What's his name? Michael Bay. Big Michael Bay guy.
Michael Bay. I liked The Rock.
Did Michael Bay do The Rock?
I think so.
With Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
That was a Michael Bay movie.
Yes.
So you're telling me that we could have done without The Rock and avoided the Transformers franchise? What else did Michael Bay do that was trash? Did he do the second Independence Day?
There was a second Independence Day.
There was a lot of movies. I feel like Michael Bay.
He also did a new Ninja Turtles and whatever the hell.
Same movie. I feel like Michael Bay's produced the same movie.
He did both Bad Boys movies, and I don't know if there's more Bad Boys.
What do you mean the both? There were three. First off,
three. I like The Rock, and I think when I was 12, I liked Armageddon.
Armageddon was fantastic. God damn it.
See it again, and I don't think you'll find it so fantastic. But
No, I love, dude, stop it. The nostalgia at this point, watching Armageddon, you can't compete.
Nostalgia for what?
I love that movie growing up.
Uh, I don't know how you turn to Michael Bay. I think I'm. You're all primed to see more Woody Allen movies.
You're primed to see more Marvel Cinematic Universe masterpieces like Iron Man
Can't you
3
admit? Can't you?
or The Dark World.
I want some acknowledgement that this is not equal. Like, you've told me to watch these
I
movies.
acknowledge it. I acknowledge it's not equal. Now go do it.
But you can actually enjoy the movies that I'm recommending to you. And
I'm also paying for the movies that you're recommending, and yours are all
some of
free
them.
on Disney
Listen,
Plus.
some of them you should
already
check.
have.
Okay, some of them are still on Amazon Prime. And,
Which ones? Manhattan is certainly not.
Oh, they keep changing.
You know what? There's going to be. You're absolutely right. There's going to be a month when there's going to be a Woody Allen collection, and it's all on there.
Well,
like they do that with Bond. They do that with. It happens.
No, because
and I'm happy to pay.
Different people.
However, if we want to talk about fair.
Okay, that's fair. I would, personally, I would find a way to stream the movies, but
well, if you want to send me a link, Daniel.
All right. I think
if you want to forward me a pirated version of this film.
Not a pirated version. I think, I don't know, you can do whatever you want. I might, if my reputation is on the line, I might skip his next film. As much as I want you to go through chronologically, his next film, Interiors, which does have Diane Keaton, is a kind of,
She's great.
Is a bit of a bleak film.
Oh no.
And I think that he returns to a lot of the same themes in later movies, and does a little bit of a better job. So you don't have to watch Interiors if you don't want, but I think it would be worth watching Manhattan to see a slightly different view of not the same, similar, but similar characters. Diane Keaton is in Manhattan as well. And Stardust Memories is also a kind of oppressive film. I mean, if you just want to some of the highlights, and then maybe if you really like Woody Allen, you'll go and see the other movies, which do none of his movies are bad.
What do you think? You know me. You know my tastes. We've had these conversations.
I don't know. I'm very happy that you liked Annie Hall, and you really maybe because you just watched it, paid attention to
just a few hours ago.
Details. Yeah. I would watch Manhattan and then go on to Hannah and Her Sisters. Yeah, that's Manhattan.
$4.
Oh,
to rent. 15 to buy. Is it worth buying, or should I rent it? That's all you have to say.
You know what? I got emails about Amazon's like gold box deal of the week every week for years and years, and it finally paid off one week when the 3 collections of Woody Allen's DVDs, 19 movies for $55. And
tremendous.
Yeah,
tremendous.
It was. I got.
We're talking physical DVDs though.
Yeah. So I have.
Also the downloads, also the digital downloads, or no?
No, not the digital downloads.
That's too bad.
Now I've purchased. I have almost his whole collection of movies. Some of his movies are incredibly hard to find.
That seems silly, doesn't it?
Woody Allen has never made any kind of effort to make his movies available. He just finishes the movie.
Doesn't that seem like an asshole thing to do?
it is sort of annoying for people who are his fans and want to own his movies, especially if those movies that they want to find are Deconstructing Harry or Sweet and Low Down.
Maybe one of our viewers here can hook us up with a couple of copies of Deconstructing Harry and what was the other one?
Sweet and Low Down.
Sweet and Low Down. Send it to the address below. You know, post that, right?
The address below. I don't know. I have to figure out how to do those things. Well, so
I'll watch Manhattan.
you watch Manhattan and watch Hannah and her. Hey, I made for you a list. What do you think of this list? You got.
Is this the same list we went over?
I gave you a new list of some 87 entries or something titled
You don't have to yell at me,
Plan
Daniel.
for Scott.
Hold on. What was this? Emailed?
Yeah.
When? Movies. I
Week
got it right
ago.
here.
Having me go through all
Yep,
these.
I got it right here. You want me to go chronologically?
Down the list.
Okay. So I have to look. So next on the list, even though I haven't seen Take the Money and Run or Finish Bananas, I'll finish Bananas first. Next on the list is Hannah and Her Sisters.
Okay, so I skipped Manhattan, but I didn't realize how much you liked Diane Keaton.
It was fantastic.
You should see
Radio
Manhattan.
Days.
Radio Days, I like. Yep.
Okay, so I'll target one of those next two. Then it's Crimes and Misdemeanors.
Yep.
Are these all Woody Allen's for the most part?
Yeah, well, yeah, you'll see they're in sections. It'll say who's the next. I think after Woody Allen, I have some Kubrick films.
Yes, you do. The Killing, Paths of Glory, Spartacus. Okay. Yeah, I'll bang these out.
Terrific.
And you're gonna watch.
Hey, they're all in this stupid list on Disney Plus. Why not? And the X-Men movies don't count for some reason, or?
It's not that they don't count. It's that they're too much removed from the current iteration and climate of the movies, right? Like it was when those characters and those stories were owned by Fox Studios, right? Like what they're trying to create now is an entire, again, cinematic universe, to steal their phrase, where all of these stories and characters are being told under one umbrella, one universe with consistent rules, consistent characters, villains, heroes.
Sure.
They're trying to they're world building, which I think is one of the things that I admire in storytelling. They're trying to world build as opposed to this happened 20 years ago and it's still relevant today. You know, I mean, parts of it are, yes, I think Hugh Jackman would, reprising his role as Wolverine, would send people over the top. I don't think he'll do that. I think they'll find someone new, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Okay, I think you've mentioned this thing about world building, and maybe someday we'll have another conversation.
It's similar with Game of Thrones and Star Wars.
Well, there's a totally different, maybe we could have this discussion right now. There's a totally different idea of what does world building mean and what significance might it have? Why might you be interested in a thing like Game of Thrones versus, I don't know exactly what you mean, this Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know,
well, I think the main difference is the Marvel Cinematic Universe is supposed to be taking place in more modern contemporary times, right? So the world building there is going to be mostly focused on the introduction of characters, obviously their abilities, what these characters can do and cannot do, but also how these characters are interacting with, again, the perceived modern day-ish world and environment. Whereas if you do world building with Game of Thrones or a Tolkien or something like that, you're being introduced to a different time and place, and then also characters as well.
Yeah.
So I appreciate Star Wars the same thing, right? Very vague start, a place far, far away, a time long, long ago. So you're left with well, nothing but questions. You know, tell us about this place far, far away in this time, long, long ago. So I think those have a little bit more leeway with that and can take a few more royalties with their again world or universe building, as opposed to something that is intentionally set in a modern day timeline. Like there's less to build upon. They can still build upon it and build their version of what that universe looks like, but it's not going to be as exciting because there are cars and skyscrapers and people working at coffee shops, as opposed to horses and swords and people starving to death.
Well, okay, let me try to say what my theory of this is, because I think we mean two totally different things.
Well, also at the end of the day, like this is all entertainment and there's a sense of escapism, right? So by building this world that we can then further escape into or dive into, it then reinforces the reason we're seeking this entertainment. You know what I mean? Or reinforces the glorification or the it's escaping me, but the payoff, you know what I mean? Like the more we're invested in Star Wars, the more we can transport ourselves into that world and that existence.
Yes, somehow it does have to suck you in. It has to make you interested and to believe in this whole new world. I think what's so
Suspension of disbelief, right?
But I don't know if it's so much about disbelief, because you're already being told this is a different place. It's a different setting. I guess this is maybe a hallmark of maybe that's what's called fantasy, when you invent a whole new world in which for something to take place in. So what is the point there? Maybe when you start from scratch and give a whole new setting and not use the real setting, you need to do everything yourself. You have some freedom that the real world is, not like this, but you really have, it takes an incredible understanding of history and geography. You have to invent a world that's somehow believable. So you need to understand the mechanisms of the world in order so that your story
I think yes and
able
no.
to reach, huh?
I think yes and no. I agree and disagree with that. I think it can be very effective if it does have aspects that resonate and make sense to people in relation to our history and what we've experienced as a society. But I think it also shouldn't have to fit into a box per se. I think some of the times I've been most carried away is when things have gone further than I expected or could have imagined myself. Right?
Well, I here I'm emphasizing, because I love these Game of Thrones books, and I see how George Martin has really understood like how societies worked, how the geography and the economy influenced.
You're a big fan of the relation to history, actual history and events that have taken place.
That's right, because it's teaching you something about real life that you can see is real, that he can bring out in a world where he's transformed but kept the understanding of real life that would not be so, that you wouldn't necessarily bring out, that because you wouldn't feel it was necessary to explain, I don't know, talking about the real world.
Well, I agree with that, but I also think, like, again, I'll reiterate, this is entertainment. These are stories that we're seeking out, not maybe, yes, to learn lessons or I guess learn from the past to a degree, but also it's a form of entertainment that we want to be transported away from the lives that we're in.
If you take, for example, here, I'll just give one more criticism. If you take the mythical world in Thor, Asgard and the other
Asgard, its
realm
name.
that they go to, I
Show
forget.
it some respect.
the land, but there's the other land of the guys who are all blue and look like
The Ice Giants?
Huh?
The Ice Giants?
Is that what they're called? I thought they have some other name for them.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter. Anyway, it is so this to me is a clear example of terrible world building because
You're gonna hate Thor 2.
it has nothing to it. It is the most limited, least imaginative, based on no knowledge of anything idea. It's like, oh, a perfect world has big gold towers and flying things, and they are vaguely medieval. It doesn't explain.
Does that sound like anybody you know?
What
Big gold towers?
I don't know. No one has a gold tower, but
Okay.
you're talking about you're talking about our president. Is that
No. This is a movie. This is a movie podcast, Daniel.
Anyway? I'm just saying there was no detail there that suggested any kind of knowledge or serious dealing with what would, I don't know, a kind of heavenly or godlike realm really be like that can impart any new knowledge to us, that anything to take away from it. It's almost how bizarre, how minimal, how stupid the set design is in any of these movies. And the same I thought of Black Panther and all these visions of the future or very wealthy people, like they just have giant empty halls, with fancy carpets. These people have never seen a movie, say, by Pedro Almodovar, where people have very interesting houses decorated full of color, and it's just a very different.
There wasn't enough color in Black Panther for you?
Just saying, it's a different approach to set design or an aesthetic of like, that just speaks to what would a thing really look like? How would it really function? Actually, one of my favorite filmmakers, Hayao Miyazaki, thinks a lot about this because as an animator, everything in the film has to come from his mind, right? It's not there to be filmed on camera. And he explains how, Miyazaki loves airplanes, okay? That's been his obsession since boyhood. And a lot of his movies have all kinds of flying apparatus, and he draws them, and he's really drawing the motor and all this stuff. And he explains, if you don't know the thing that you're drawing, and people say this also about writing, you write what you know. Why? Because when you know something, you can provide the detail of it that can tell someone else something about that thing. If you're an animator and you are asked to draw a plane, and you don't know anything about planes, and you don't bother to learn anything about planes, then the only kind of plane that you can draw is the kind of plane that you have in your imagination. It's only what a person who knows nothing about planes will know. There has to be wings and a nose and a tail, but you don't know anything about how it moves, how it works. And you can give people no more than the stupidity that comes from their own first impression, their own imagination. And the work of a movie has to be telling us something extra. It can't just be the first stupid thing that came into your head and just putting it there. You have to bring us something. And I feel like that's bad world building that happens in Thor.
Well, I think to more of that credit, I think that's the exact argument that people who are fans of Marvel movies have against the DC movies, the modern equivalent DC movies.
Well, I guess I haven't seen any of those except for Wonder Woman, but to me, there's really no difference between Wonder Woman and the Marvel movies.
Did you like Captain America more or Wonder Woman more?
I don't know. I think Wonder Woman at least titillated me with its premise, or that there.
I hate that you said titillated.
There was at least the possibility that there would be a kind of battle of the sexes, gender roles, kind of battle going on in that movie that might be of interest, and it never delivered as far as I was concerned on that premise. On that, I don't know. It's hard for me to say. All these movies, they don't do a whole lot for me. That's just the fact of it.
You're gonna keep watching them though.
Yeah, only if you watch these Woody Allen movies.
Yeah, I got Manhattan in the queue. You saw, I showed it to you.
Manhattan.
$15.
Yeah. If I were in Ithaca, I have all the DVDs except
I regret not buying Annie Hall. I rented Annie Hall. But I've also seen it. But I feel like it's a movie I would also like to introduce to other people if they haven't seen it.
see. That's why I have DVDs. I think people don't even bother with owning movies anymore, and it's a
It's
shame.
clutter,
I like
man.
to show
It's
people
physical. It's physical clutter. There's no need for it. How
if
many CDs do you own?
Oh, I don't have CDs, but I have DVDs.
It's the same. I mean, it's the same evolution of a different medium. I mean, it's very much the Kindle or a Libby or Audible or whatever. You know what I mean? Versus having bookshelves of paper just sitting there taking up space.
I guess if there was
I'm not saying I don't agree that there is something different about holding this in your hands, turning the pages, maybe placing notes inside, having it there that you can reach to when you want, lending it to a friend. I totally understand and get that. However, convenience sake, safe spacing, efficiency.
I guess if there was a good way to have own the digital copies and transfer them and use them on different
It feels
devices.
like a step backwards, though. We have a way that you don't need to do that.
What do you mean?
You can still have access to them without actually physically having to have a thing
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, the
that
digital copy
exists.
is what I meant.
Amazon Prime, Netflix, Hulu. You can purchase the movie for digital download, Daniel, and save it on any medium you want to.
I'm aware that it exists. I guess I haven't gotten used to it. I don't know how it really works, but
Look,
yeah,
man, I
maybe
used to
if that
raid
were
those
effective.
$5 DVD bins like a fiend.
I guess I look for particular things. I was one of
Good
the only
burger.
because I wanted to see a particular movie. I paid 130 zlotys to import this collection.
130 what?
Zlotys. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation. Whatever is the money in Poland to get this collection by this Polish director, uh, Jerzy Kawalerowicz. I don't know if that's the pronunciation of his name either. Uh, Mostly so I could see what was a very good movie, Pharaoh.
Hmm.
Not unavailable in this country otherwise, but um,
That's an interesting concept too, the politics behind the distribution of films.
I don't know
Um,
anything about it. But
you know what I was you know what I was thinking leading up to and during while I was watching Annie Hall? What might be it'd be a little more time consuming, but probably not. How long have we been on this today? A lot of our stuff's been running 2+ hours anyway.
that's right,
Um,
and I think that's fine. Joe Rogan often goes 3 hours.
no, and I'm not complaining or pushing it, but it might be fun to explore us watching the movie at simultaneously and recording our live reactions. You hate it. I
I
can tell you
don't
hate
know
it
how to do
already,
that.
and that's
I,
fine.
I was actually just here. You know what? My brother told me that one of our friends is doing that with his girlfriend. He started his own podcast, his own thing, and he's doing that. Everyone's doing their own podcast
Don't be a
now.
hater, Daniel. Don't be a hater.
It's only
You're
good if
doing the
they draw
same
people
thing.
to
You're
my.
doing the same thing, but a few months earlier.
And they're doing that, and I don't want to do that. I like our conversations. Um, we could, people have suggested we could do, if we did shorter conversation, it would be more focused. Like, let's just talk about this movie and go through it in depth. And there are people who
can
already do
always
that.
can always edit it after the fact too, right? Like I mean, I feel like because of the structure of these so far anyway, there's a lot of bouncing around. There's probably also a lot of things if you had one topic you wanted to cover that's maybe hit on a few times, you could edit out and cut the stuff in between. Um, Obviously, it would tell the story that you edit it to tell, but also if that's done well, I don't see a problem with that.
Yes. Well, that would involve more editing on my part. So far, all I've done
Well, you're
is
really busy watching all these movies and all these Marvel movies.
I'm doing some stuff, you know. Uh,
What's the what we want to talk about anything else on here on the record? And then
sure,
talk
we can
about other
talk. You
stuff
know what?
off the record?
We can just talk as friends. I can stop the recording. You know.
If you'd like, yeah.
All right. So
Dive into our personal
personal
lives.
lives. Personal lives. Let's go.